All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. And good morning. It is the morning call. It's Wednesday, early July 2026. It's great to be here with you. It's Tom Dabertin. Great to be here with you. We're going to be here till 9 a.m. this morning. We do have a guest coming in at 8 o'clock, or guests coming in to talk about Greek Fest, but we'll have the lines open throughout. So 845-1100, 219-845-1100. It's the number to call. But let's begin with traffic and weather. On traffic, things look pretty good this early morning at this time. Klein Avenue is showing some slowdowns due to construction. There's a repaving project that's going on in both directions, so be careful there. Going across the line into Illinois, the Dan Ryan is of note. It's slowing down on starting at 47th. Otherwise, looking at the Bishop Ford, 8094, 294, the Stevenson, the Eisenhower, and the Kennedy all look pretty good. There is a slowdown on Lakeshore Drive, but that's north of the city, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And with that, let's go to weather. And I didn't give you the temperature, so it's 84 this morning in the Dabertin pool.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 67 degrees with highs of 89 and lows of 70. It's going to be mostly sunny. Air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Later tonight will be clear to partly sunny and humid. And tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 85 and lows of 68. Mostly cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm from late morning on. And Friday we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 67 with times of clouds and sun with a shower in places and humid.
And I don't know if we need any more rain. I think we've had enough over the past 2 weeks. It has been soggy around here. If Rick Mossels were doing the one-word weather report, I think the term would be soggy. We had a lot of rain, just like everybody else in the region. And I'm noticing that even my flowers are beginning to show a little bit of a droop because they're getting oversaturated. So keep that in mind. There are lots of stories to talk about today, and I just want to go through them, and then we'll go to the phone lines. But first off, there's a story about Graham Plattner, the candidate for U.S. Senate, Democratic U.S. Senate candidate in Maine. And it just raises a question, what happened to Believe All Women? This is a guy that they've known as a scumbag. They've known he was a scumbag from the day he started running. After all, he had a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And the Democrats have tried to hide this guy and cover for him no matter what he does. And now a second woman has come out and said that he raped her. I mean, simple as that. He raped her. And the first woman who came out and made that allegation 2 weeks ago, the news media literally covered for him, saying, well, she wasn't a viable source because she was, she's a Republican. Like, that has something to do with your viability and your believability by the media. This is a horrible story, and I don't think it bodes well at all for the Democrats who, Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries have said, we have to retake the Senate at all costs. It doesn't matter who the candidate is. Well, it does matter. You have a guy who basically is wearing a Nazi tattoo on his chest. He has been accused of sexual assault and rape of several women now. This is the second woman that has accused him. And there are still individuals who are holding out for him to continue to stay in the race. It's just bizarre. Love to hear your views on that. Second, a little closer to home, we have the situation with BP Oil. And Mayor McDermott over the weekend announced that he would not accept and would return the donation from BP Oil to Festival of Lakes. BP does not do a lot for this area anymore. They used to at one time. They used to be a phenomenally important part of the community, but they're not anymore. They basically, their view is we pay taxes and that's it. BP Oil pays taxes based on a valuation of $188 million for that refinery, even though they put like $5 billion into it a few years ago. They're way undertaxed and underassessed, but that's because the state of Indiana has these ridiculous rules. So I'd love to hear your views on that. We're over 100 days now on the lockout. no end in sight. And how do you feel about BP oil, and how do you feel about the mayor returning the money? There was a horrible dog death reported by both Region News Source and the Times over the last few days in Maryville, and I'm going to read some of that later because these two women deserve to be exposed for what they did. They tied their dog up to a playground set in the backyard, gave it no shelter, no water, and it succumbed to the heat. And so I'm going to read that. It's a disturbing story, but it needs to be read because people need to know, A, if you live near these two people or you work with these two people, what they're really like, in just ignoring and abusing their dog. And secondly, there's some good tips when it gets warm about taking care of your dog. Iran looks like our ceasefire is about over, and Iran continues to violate the ceasefire, and the U.S. continues to ratchet up its attacks. And lastly, I want to ask the question this morning: do you want divisive people representing you locally? So last week we had Jonathan Peterson on, and I got several calls afterwards, and people said, "Yeah, here's the problem. Do we want somebody who basically causes a lot of waves, or do we want people who basically serve in government where they get things done without a lot of upheaval?" And there's two schools to that one. So love to hear your views on that. So 845-1100 is the number to call. Again, we're going to be here until 9 a.m. This morning, but I've got to say, I'm just shocked by the story out of Maine that Graham Plattner has basically survived as long as he has in the race for U.S. Senate. Now, he's kind of a close ally of the some of the Democratic socialists that are running for office, and that's some of the appeal. But to me, what he's done and the allegations against him, if it was anybody else, they wouldn't be running for office. And we've got calls, so let's go to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Here's some good news for people who are thinking about what to do about their COVID booster shot for the year as we get closer to the fall. This comes out of the Week magazine published out of New York, and its headline, "Get the COVID Vax for Your Heart." The COVID vaccine is strongly protective of the heart, especially in the elderly. A new study suggests the research followed about 1 million veterans who had received the flu vaccine at Veteran Affairs clinics in 2024 and 2025. Around one-third of them had also gotten their seasonal COVID shot, and that group had a 38% lower risk of cardiovascular problems, including heart attack, stroke, and death. Does that sound like good news for you?
Well, let me ask you, given all the controversy over the COVID shot, would you be willing to take it again based on this information? I mean, I've heard the same thing that they're saying now it's good for the heart, but there were all these claims that it wasn't, and all these stories. I mean, how likely are you to get a COVID shot this year, Walt?
Well, I had one last year, and I reported to the WJOB audience that it was a kinder, safer COVID shot compared to the shots that I got during the pandemic type thing. So it went well for me last year, and reading this article, I would say that I'll probably get the shot again.
Okay. All right.
Along with the general flu shot.
I think I had 6 or 7 of them, and I have not had one in a year. Maybe I should get it again, but my doctor basically said, "Nah, stay. You're fine." This was last year. He hasn't said anything about this year yet, so I'll have to check with him. But there are lingering concerns about the COVID shot. You're right. They continue to re-engineer it, and it is supposedly far more mild than the previous shot. And I do get a flu shot every year, so I may get.
Yes.
I think it's a combination shot. Is that correct?
No.
It's separate.
Last year I had separate shots. One
Okay.
flu, one for COVID.
Okay. So
And
go ahead.
but my general practitioner, a lady, she she was very a strong advocate of this is what we going back to the pandemic. Her position was this is what we have available. It's the best we have, and so I support it. But if you don't, you choose not to get it, then that's up to you. And I got the shots, and she knew it. And at one point, apparently, she was getting back pressure from some of her patients, and so she asked me, "Tell me why you chose to get the shot as opposed to not getting it." So I discussed that, and but in any case, she was generally very much a supporter of the inoculations.
Well, and again, I got quite a few of them. I didn't have a problem with them until about a year and a half ago. I questioned whether I should get it. I did get it, but I haven't had any discussion with my doctor about this year. It just concerns me that there's an awful lot of information that's come out that's made me kind of question whether the shot had a lot of value or not. In a way, I guess it's like the flu shot, where you take the flu shot and it's not a guarantee that you won't get the flu because they don't know what strain of the flu, and they don't know what strain of COVID is really going to what it's going to morph into this year. So there are some legitimate challenges on that end, but I just don't know. I'm less prone to get it, to be honest with you, this year than I have been in other years. I've said I'll take it. I don't mind. I didn't have a problem with it, and all of a sudden I just wonder, is it effective and is it worth taking? Let me ask you a question. What do you think of this issue with BP Oil and Mayor McDermott sending the money back to BP for Festival Lakes? How do you feel about that?
Well, he is a politician, and he doesn't have to worry about votes from the executives of BP, and he wants to show solidarity with a large chunk of his constituency, and he is a Democrat, and so
but
it's not surprising.
Would you have accepted that money?
I don't know. I'm not. I'm not the Mayor Hammond, and
okay. All right.
I would say that if I were the Mayor Hammond, maybe I would not accept it.
I don't think this comes down to Democrat or Republican, Walt. I really don't think this is a Democrat or Republican issue. I think it's a question of whether you accept the money from BP or whether you walk away from it. I personally think the right move is to walk away from it. I think that BP Oil, right now, given the fact that it has this lockout, it's affected over 800 individuals, over 800 families in the area. I think you want to support the families and the fact that it's a lockout, it's not a strike. And right. BP basically locked out the employees. I think that this one makes sense. I think the mayor fell on the right side of things. But hey, we need to move on. Thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, the chances of me taking a COVID shot are the same chances of me getting out of Boeing 747 and piloting it out of Gary Airport and landing on the moon.
Yeah, you know what?
I think you got to be crazy to take those things.
Well,
I never took one, never will.
Well, I did. And as I said before, I think I had 6 or 7 of them. And,
and 37 colonoscopies later.
Well, 39. But it didn't have anything to do. There's no.
But who's counting how many fingers have probed you?
That's right. But there's no relationship there. But again, I just don't know. I mean, they come out and all of a sudden they claim that it's great for the heart. Okay, and I have some heart concerns, but wasn't it about 2 years ago they were telling us how bad it was for the heart, and there were all these people that were dying of these weird heart ailments, and now they tell us it's great for the heart. And who wrote the study?
Exactly.
Moderna.
Why would you take it then?
Right. I mean, who wrote the study?
That makes no
Moderna. I mean,
sense.
heck, it's like you got to wonder about some of these studies and some of these claims.
You got to wonder about you taking it.
I agree.
I mean,
I don't
no
think
chance.
I will. I don't think I will. I know that Donna has had some really bad reactions to the COVID vaccine. You worry about.
It might have been a reaction to you.
Well, it could be, but you never know. But yeah, I just don't see. I find it. I just find it very. I'm very skeptical of believing any study now that says there's this additional value to the COVID vaccine. I would like to see the study, and I'd like to see 3 or 4 studies make the same claim, because to me it just sounds like big pharma making some outrageous claim to keep the revenues rolling in.
Attaboy. That's there you go.
So
There's
what
no
do you
chance I'd
what do you
take
think?
COVID
What do you
shot.
think of as far as BP oil? What do you think? Would you take the money or not?
He's just virtue signaling. Come on, man. He just bitched about not having enough money for Festival of the Lakes. You guys get on the radio every day and say how terrible BP is. They don't help out the community. And here they are writing their annual check for Festival of the Lakes. And now you're going to give them the money back? What do you guys? I mean, come on now. I mean,
Well,
you guys you're just playing politics. You're just showing how wonderful and virtuous you are. Bob, just listen. Come on, man.
well, there's 800 families, and a
That's-
lot of
it's
them
just
live
dumb.
near you. A lot of those families live near you, actually. There are quite a few BP employees that live in Griffith, and they've been locked
They
down
live
now
all
for
over the
over 100
region.
days. Right? No, but they're all over the region. That's the point. But they include in Griffith, and so my point is that they're hurting. BP, as you and I have talked before, BP is not the company that it used to be. It really doesn't support a lot of things. So you have a valid point that, okay, here's one of the few times they are supporting it, so why not take the money? But I don't know. I'm bothered by the fact that that BP oil doesn't do more than it does. We have an air quality day today. Well, guess what? A big part of that air quality is contributed by BP. They are a big polluter. They're a huge noise polluter, light pollution. They create a lot of upheaval and a lot of distress for a lot of people that live, especially up in Whiting, Robertsdale. We have to hear it, smell it, see it all the time. And then
You chose to live there.
well, then they've got a
They
couple
were
of
there
glad
first.
They have a couple of glad handers that walk around. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Mad Mac. And my family's been up there for an awfully long time. But at the same time, you go near other oil refineries, and there's kind of a difference. BP running Whiting is a kind of a minimalist.
What kind of difference? What kind of technical difference do you actually think you could possibly tell me the difference between this refinery and another refinery?
A lot less flaring at other refineries. Some refineries have put an earthen wall around. They're far more active in the
Earthen wall
community.
for what? In case they have a leak?
Far more active, no, for explosion, and it actually is proven
When's the
that it
last
does
time you
make
had
a
an
difference.
explosion there?
What?
When's the last time you had an explosion there?
Oh, a few years ago. They have
Yeah,
explosions.
now how bad?
Well,
How many people got killed?
well, is that the only way that you measure explosions, by how many people got killed? I mean, are you
Well, how many people
Alfred
got
Nobel?
killed?
Well, there weren't any that got killed in that particular explosion. But the fact is that it is very disruptive. And again, when you talk to people in other locations, you see that the refinery basically is a true member of the community and very engaged, and it just doesn't exist anymore with BP. So for many years, when it was Standard Oil, when it was Amoco, it did engage in the community. It was involved in the community, and people said, okay, well, it's noisy and stinks and does all those things, but we can live with it because they basically make up for it. They're part of the community. BP does not do that. BP tries to shield everything. When they had the flood about a year ago, right down at 121st, and there was oil floating on top of the floodwaters from the rains, BP basically tried to limit the information that was shared with people about the floodwaters. They're not the greatest corporate corporate citizen anymore. They're just not. So again, it used to be that people said, okay, well, there's a balanced effect that yes, they create these problems, but at the same time they're very much part of the community, and they're not anymore.
Well, how come nobody ever gets anybody from BP management on to tell their side of the story?
Because
I've talked
BP
to
management generally
I know
won't.
some of these guys that work there,
And they won't. And a lot of them won't come on. A lot of them won't come on. I know a number of their management people.
Because the stories they tell you about how things are going now versus how it was going, 200 days ago. They're like, hey, we don't need to have a union guy putting in 50 hours to fix something when we can get it done in 3. That they stretch it out. We don't need guys putting up putting up all the scaffolding and then sitting around for 3 weeks doing nothing.
Well, a lot of their scaffolding. Wait a minute. A
company.
lot of the scaffolding and those things are done by contractors out there. Most of the work, most of the employment that exists at BP is done by contractors. And by the way, there is a provision that the local building trades are not honoring the lockout because of a provision that they have in their contracts, which, because of the importance of the oil refinery, they're not able to honor the picket line. So they're going in every day. So the people that are being displaced by the current lockout at BP are the 800 employees. Everybody else, the thousands of contract employees that work out there, are not being affected. And I think that's part of the difference with this lockout and other strikes and lockouts that have.
Do they not? Do those people not have a right to work? They made a deal. They chose. He said, "Great, here's the rate. Come on in and work." That's what they want to do. They don't want to be with the union folks.
But what I'm saying is that in the past, when there's been a lockout or a strike at BP, the building trades, for example, the contractors weren't honoring the picket line, or were honoring the picket line and not crossing it. In this particular case, the building trades have a provision that they have to go ahead and cross it. It's a safety provision that basically is in their I believe their master agreements that say that they have to go in. So the scaffolding that you're talking about is being put up by union workers from building trades and by contractors, and so that work continues.
We need the gasoline in the region, don't we?
We do, and it's a huge producer of gasoline, and they don't do us any favors there.
Would you rather have BP closed right now?
No, absolutely not.
Would you rather have it closed?
Here's a point. The same gasoline that they're selling here at a much higher rate is the same gasoline that you can buy down in Rensselaer or Indianapolis, and it's 20 cents cheaper. Why is that?
Well,
BP doesn't
when the
say,
gasoline leaves BP, it gets priced, and why these other stations price them where they do, that may be a different subject.
Well, they price it higher locally here because they can charge higher because people come across from Illinois looking for deals, and they've known that for years. And I won't name them, but I've had a number of BP oil executives who told me that that's true. They do charge a higher amount here. They base it on the market demand, so they can charge higher here. They charge a lower amount as you get out away from the refinery. When you get out past, say, US 30, the prices drop. They admit to that. So they are kind of gouging us. They're kind of gouging us locally because they know they can, because there's this demand from people from Illinois. So they inflate the price here, and this is the area that basically is most affected by the refinery. So they're not doing us any favors. Hey, man, Mac, appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
They're a terrible company. Shut them down, throw them in the lake.
I didn't say any of that. Didn't say any of that. Did not say any of that. 845-1100 is the number to call. Want to take a quick break? We're going to come right back. We'll take your calls. We'll be here till 9 o'clock this morning. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
When your home needs help, the last thing you need is a faceless corporation or sales-driven franchise. At Myers Companies, we've been proudly local since 1951, born and raised right here in Northwest Indiana. We're family-owned and operated, built on trust, hard work, and integrity. And because we're family, we treat you like family. Your comfort and safety always come first. For HVAC, plumbing, and electrical done right, choose Myers Companies. Local, family-owned, here for your family.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its 3rd generation providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
All right, we're back, and we have calls to attend to, so let's get right to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I turned it on, but I was busy the second I was on a phone call. But what was the temperature of your pool?
84.
I didn't hear it.
84.
Oh, okay. Good morning. Well, I see you can type on your laptop, so you didn't light any fireworks off and go off in your hands, huh?
You know what? I did light some fireworks, and I do it as safely as I possibly can. Safety Steve Stanek was here a few weeks ago, and we talked about it. Steve and I actually used to light them off together, and we came up with the idea of using a propane torch because there's no question, no equivocation that the wick gets lit that way, and you don't stand there fumbling with a lighter or anything else. So that's what we always use.
Yeah.
It allows you to get away very quickly. So what's on your mind?
Yeah. Oh, nothing much. It's just
well, you raised the issue on your social media the other day about BP oil. So you posted about. Basically, a list of things that they do give to. So let me ask you this: what's your view about the mayor giving back that money? You're kind of the guy that kicked
there's
it
one
off.
person. Yeah, well, yeah, and there's one person on here that calls in and nags at me, which I could care less. It makes me feel better when they nag at me, because that way they don't like what I say. But the thing is what the mayor of Hammond did, giving the money back, that's the best thing, because simple reason, he shows that he cares for the 800 people that are locked out that BP brought in from another state and paying them $127 an hour, and they're making all this money, but 800 people are sitting home and their families can't do a lot of stuff, but BP brought in people from elsewhere and paying them $127 an hour to come in and work while those guys are standing there. Yes, I thank the mayor for what he did.
By the way, those people that come in, the temporary workers, some people call them scabs. Just a quick shout out to all of them. If you're going to live here temporarily, you need to basically show some respect for the community that you're living in. There are a number of rental properties that they've tied up in Whiting and Robertsdale, for example, and you can kind of go by and tell where the scabs are renting right now. Folks, don't drop litter. You wouldn't do that down in Texas or Louisiana. Don't litter around here. I've seen several people with Texas plates just drop stuff right at stoplights. That's wrong. So, respect the community while you're here.
Now, another thing is, they're all saying that because the mayor gave the money back, it's politics. No, it's not politics. He has a heart. Mayor Tom McDermott has a heart. He chose right because there's 800 people that can't do things. But now, okay, if somebody wants to nag on here about politics, he played politics. Democrat Governor Waltz pardoned a migrant for raping a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
He pardoned
Horrible
that migrant.
situation.
Okay. Now, is that politics or that's politics because he wants that migrant out of jail so that he can tell his buddies, oh, vote for the Democrats because Governor Waltz let me out of prison because I raped a 10-year-old kid. Now, if that migrant would have raped one of Democrat Governor Waltz's family members, Democrat Governor Waltz, would he have pardoned that person for raping one of his family members?
Of course not. But Walz is a scumbag. Walz is on his way out, and Walz is just really become almost a national joke. The fact that he continues to defend the people that stole all the money, the Somali population that did steal about $10 billion in federal funds for things like the Leering centers that they operated with no children in them, the transportation for medical transportation systems that never ran. Walz knew what he was doing. He basically catered to that population up there. They voted 100% for him, and he is a true scumbag of a politician, no doubt about it. But what about Graham Plattner? What about this guy who's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest and now has been accused by 2 women of raping them? And there are still some Democrats that are saying, well, we don't know 100% if it's true or not. That idiot from the Morning Joe, Mika, she's on there yesterday. Well, do we really know if this is true or not? Do we have any bona fide proof? I mean, there aren't any pictures of the rape. I mean, that's what she's basically alluding to. She's saying, well, we have to have bona fide proof. We just have her statement. Really? Because I thought we were supposed to believe all women.
Now, I got one more question.
Sure.
Every morning I get up, I always watch Channel 7 News. I'm not too happy with Channel 7 on their ways of reporting the news, but it's been flashing on their screen something about a barcode scan on it, that they might be losing their FCC license. What is going on with ABC's Channel 7 News Chicago?
Well,
are they going to lose their FCC license?
It's not ABC 7, it's ABC. So the ABC network, there are some questions about the renewal of their license, and it has to do with some of their programs that refuse to allow balanced reporting and balanced guests. The View, for example, generally has been very biased and slanted as to who they have on their show. They did have Vice President Vance recently, but generally speaking, it's been very solid liberal, and the same with Jimmy Kimmel. And so that's the argument. And the head of the FCC, basically Brendan Carr, has taken them on and said, "Look, you're not being balanced. You use the airwaves. The airwaves say that you have to have a balanced approach." Just like when I say that, I've invited Barb Regnitz and Frank Mervan to both be on here, we have to do that. We have to show both sides. Okay, now if they don't accept, that's their problem. But in the case of The View, The View and Kimmel and even their news reporting, there's some real bias toward the liberal side of things, and that's where the issue lies.
Like this station here, I love listening to it and watching it because simple reason. This station lets everybody speak how they feel and their opinions and everything. You know, I mean, the station could have went, well, I don't hit the jet button on this guy. I don't want to hear that side. I want to only hear this side. But I love the station because you got people nag at this person, that person, but everybody can voice their opinions on here. And if you know, that's what I love about the station, you know.
Well, it's the reason why talk radio exists. You know, you have to let everybody speak. And so I may not agree with everything that everybody says, but you have to let them speak. They're entitled to their opinion just like everybody else. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and does anybody, you know, that Stone Quarry over there by 294? It's all the way filled up.
The north side serves as a retention basin. You're right.
How deep is that? I mean, it's 800 million gallons or something. I forgot how they said, but I wonder exactly how deep from the top of the water to the bottom of that quarry. How deep is that water now?
I think the north side is like 100 feet. I think the south side is down to about 150, 160 feet. But the north side, if I remember correctly, I heard a report it was about 100 feet deep.
Now, I got a senior citizen fishing license now. I was wondering, is there any fish in there? Can I go fishing there?
I don't think you want to fish in that water. That water is combined runoff, which means it has sewage and storm water. You might find some brown trout in there, but I don't think you want to go there. So, hey, thanks so much for the call, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing. A couple months ago, me and my wife, we got our senior citizen fishing license for life.
Uh-huh.
It expires a year 2101. So 75 years it's good for. I added how old I am. I can still fish till I'm 145 years old. But I told my wife and I told people, if I pass away, make sure you put my fishing license, my tackle box, and fishing pole so when I go up there, that I can fish up there.
There you go.
They made fishermen, you know. Well, everybody have a safe, good day, and it's supposed to warm up today, you know, and make sure your dogs got plenty of water and check on people and everybody. Just make sure everybody's safe today, and you don't hear from a friend, call them and check on them.
All right, very good. Thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've got another caller. So good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, sometimes as a moderator, you come on, you bring up some interesting things, but sometimes people don't want to touch it. Now, we talked about in Maine, what you said, this guy is a scumbag. He's a Democrat, okay? He's a scumbag. And right now, the Democrats are not doing what sometimes the Republicans do, try to protect scumbags, like in Texas down there, that guy who was done. So I'm just simply saying that it's both sides, Tom.
Oh, I agree. It's both sides, but
now we've heard on this thing. It's a Democrat, but this guy is a scumbag, okay? And the Democrats are coming out and say, "Hey, look here, you're unacceptable." Now they may have said something early on. I don't know. I don't follow it like a lot of people do. They just follow stuff, 20 years back. But when I heard about that, and then I think about the Republicans sometimes, they have scumbags too, and they protect them. Matter of fact, the President of the United States, what's happening in Texas? They got a scumbag is running for the United States Senate against Tellerico. He's a scumbag, but somehow it's okay.
Listen, the level. Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute, Ron. You like to talk over, and it's a two-way conversation. Okay. So in the case of Plattner, there has not been a candidate that's run this year except maybe Swalwell that the news media and the liberal end have tried to protect more than Graham Plattner. This guy has a Nazi tattoo on his chest, okay? He had it covered over. He has had repeated claims of sexual assault against him. 2 women have come out and said that he actually committed rape. They discounted one of them just 2 weeks ago. The media has covered, the liberal media has covered for this guy like no one else. When you talk about the guy in Texas, the Attorney General, Paxton.
No, not the Attorney General, not the Attorney General.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the guy that's running for the Senate in Texas that Donald Trump is trying to protect, and he wants this guy here.
Well, Paxton's the guy running for Senate, so that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
So when it comes to Paxton, the press has been on him constantly. They have exposed anything and everything. They refused to do that with Plattner. There is clearly a bias by the news media. You may be right when you say the Democrats and the Republicans both have some scumbags. You're right about that. The difference is that the news media, though, likes to go after the Republican scumbags and not the Democrats. Look at Swalwell. They basically protected him until things totally caved in on him. And the other thing is that they've literally rallied the troops to protect this Plattner guy. And even as recently as yesterday morning, Chris Murphy, who now yesterday evening came out and said he needs to go. Yesterday morning was like, well, do we really believe these allegations? These might be false again, like the previous person. The previous person, there was no doubt that she was a believable person. But people like Chris Murphy, how dare he say that she wasn't believable? The same was true for Hakeem Jeffries. The same was true for Cory Booker. The New York Times and a number of other entities basically discounted that woman 2 weeks ago, and simply because Graham Plattner denied it and said, well, she's a Republican. And that was his defense. Now, a second woman comes out, and she said basically she came out because she was so incensed by the response to the first woman, who she happened to feel told the exact same story that happened to her, that she now came out. And because she, that now they've got two people coming out and making the allegations, all of a sudden they're changing their tune. When it comes to protecting scumbags, the Democrats are better at protecting scumbags than the Republicans. Wait a minute. Go back to the 1960 election. The 60 election, the 1960 election, the media covered for JFK and his connection to Sam Giancana, and they wouldn't have done that on the Republican side.
Okay. Now, can I? Yes. Because like I say, please let me do this. And I understand that there are some people who, if I said something was gold, they say no, it was silver. I understand that. But see, I talk on every talk show, and you know that. I don't pick and choose when I come on WJOB. Well, I come on WLTH, and there was a question came in. I don't know if people heard me yesterday. We're talking about the crime in Chicago. I say this is not us, meaning black people. This is not us. The majority of black people is decent individuals, I believe. But now, I don't condone violence of anybody, but I certainly don't condone violence of the insurrection. When people were put out, and then Donald Trump asking people, let's give them some money for this thing. And right now, Donald Trump got a lawsuit against a woman going to get some millions of dollars of him doing the same stuff. I'm just saying there's different standards. And I would probably like to come on to your show or anybody's show in studio and talk about what's going on, okay? That won't happen, I know, and that's fine. That's fine.
Well,
so
again,
I'm going to leave it with that. But okay, go ahead.
No, I appreciate your point. And again, you made it very clear, okay, that he's a scumbag, and it's appreciated because
he's a scumbag.
That's what everybody should be calling him.
Yeah, and what goes on in Chicago with this crime is not us as a race of people, okay? That is not me. I don't believe that this. I don't care if it's whoever, if it's black on black crime, black terror. It bothers me terribly. So,
yeah, and you know what?
I'll address that.
No, you've been
ahead.
very honest. You have been very honest, and I agree with you.
I
You
try
have
to
been
be.
very honest about the crime in Chicago. What I don't understand about Johnson is when you listen to him speak, it's almost as if he's completely clueless. He held a press conference, I think, on Monday, and basically hailed the fact that they only had 2 deaths in Chicago. And just what he said, it's like you want to, Ron, you want to be there, and you want to have like a little cattle prod or a shocker of some type. Maybe a stun gun connected to the guy that just gives him a shock when he says something stupid, except that he'd probably be shaking the whole time because, instead of saying we had 2 tragic deaths, he says, well, as a bright spot in our crime statistics, we've only had 2 murders over the weekend. It's like, and 30 shot. It's like, wait a minute, that's not something to hail. You could say it was less than we expected. And we're trying to do the right thing, but Johnson almost came out like he was going to celebrate the fact they only had 2 deaths. That guy doesn't get it. That guy's going to get replaced. Yep,
Tom,
I know you are. I know you are.
I'm agreeing with you. I've said to you before, I was not a supporter of Johnson. I said the only thing you asked me, because some person accused me of that. I think Chicago has got some problems. I think they've had some problems for a while before Johnson. Prior to that, with crime, and the police. One of the police chief he's resigning. He's retiring, I guess, now in Chicago. And right now, they got a problem, and it goes way back to. It goes way back in Chicago. All
it goes
America
back. I'll tell you what. It goes back to Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel was not a good mayor. Okay, Lori Lightfoot was not a good mayor. Lori Lightfoot was not a good mayor, and then you get Johnson, who's just a total disaster. So, I hate to say it, but I don't understand. I don't understand why.
What about Jane?
Well,
What about Jane?
Well, Jane Byrne, you're talking about.
Okay.
I think the last time Chicago had a good mayor was Richard M. Daley. He got things done. He held the crime rate down. He got things done. There was a lot of investment. He did things well, and what's bothersome is that I can't believe that the voters of Chicago can't figure it out to get someone decent in there. But we'll see what they elect next April, right?
Well, they got next year. They got next year to do. They got next year an election next year, and I really don't keep up with Chicago that much. I really don't. I kind of stay. I don't like what's going on in Chicago. Okay, I don't like it, but I don't keep too much up on that because I know Chicago has a history of people not doing what they do in terms of crime. And I don't care. It's a black and white thing, but if crime is in the black community, that'll be dealt with. Okay?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I think that's a good point. Hey, thanks so much for the call, Ron. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Need clean energy without the junk? I'm Jim Diedlow. I used to live on burgers, football, basketball, baseball. Now I'm gluten-free and more into biking, golf, and yoga. But I still need energy. That's why I love Paradise, developed by Emily D. Edwards right here in Cherville. My favorite is Paradise Packs Strawberry with gluten-free pretzels. Find it soon at Strachan Van Til or at spreadparadise.com.
Fox Point bursts with free concerts throughout July. Our Wednesday night concert series features Hairbangers Ball, Hello Weekend, All-American Throwbacks, and Keith Jackson and the Triple Dose Band. Enjoy the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra on Friday, July 17th, and come back for Marrakesh Express and Echoes of Pompeii on Friday, July 31st. Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is just minutes from I-8094 and parking is free. Visit foxpoint.org for our full schedule. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
The best just got better. Tech Credit Union is proud to celebrate being recognized with Best of the Region, Best CEO, and Best Banker. To celebrate, we're offering 3 special CD offers with rates up to 4.5% APY for a limited time. Visit techcu.org or stop by your nearest Tech Credit Union branch or call 800-276-8324 to learn more. Tech Credit Union, the better option for people and communities we serve. Member NCUA. Minimum deposit required. Offer subject to change. Visit techcu.org for complete details.
All right, we're back, and I'm just reading something. No, one of our listeners pointed out that the Thornton Quarry is actually 450 feet deep. Wow. So I got that wrong. It's 450 feet deep. That is an unbelievably deep quarry. Holds about 7.9 billion gallons when full. So we're talking about just under 8 billion gallons of water is sitting in that quarry, and it's not going to go away anytime too soon because it ultimately has to be treated and then pumped out. So let's hope for some light rains tomorrow. 845-1100, we've got more callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, you mentioned how the liberal media protects all these scumbags. You neglected to mention how for 43 months they vehemently doubled down and protected Biden. And it got so bad after the debate that they could no longer hide the man behind the curtain.
You know, you're absolutely right. And to me, that really was the undoing of the news media in this nation. I think any trust that had existed after the exposure of, how out of touch and the issues that existed with Biden. I mean, they were so obvious before, but they remember they initially tried to cover for him. They claimed that he had a bad night, and
Absolutely.
his wife Jill went out and said he did a great job, and now she writes a book that says she thought he was maybe having a stroke. But where did she take him? She took him to like IHOP or somewhere to recover from the stroke. I mean, really? Yeah, what a wife. I agree with you. I think that single situation caused a lot of people who maybe were kind of in the center of politics to really question the news media and the accuracy. Joe Biden, they covered for him. You're absolutely right, for 48 months.
And with the media, it's so polarized now, there's no turning back. I mean, the Pandora's box is open, and the media coverage and everything has changed, and it's never going to go back to what it was. Your previous caller, the resident racist, only took him 6 minutes to interject race into a conversation where race had nothing to do with anything. He seemed somewhat concerned about Chicago and the situation in Chicago, and that seemed so disingenuous because you got Fast Eddie Melton and you got Sweaty Mike Suggs and Gary having to deal with their own shooting gallery that they don't know how to handle. What was it, less than a week ago, a 10-year-old child got shot to death at 1 o'clock in the morning, and a number of other people got shot in Gary.
Well,
the resident racist needs to worry about his own house and what's going on in Gary more so than Chicago.
Well, let me just throw this out. There continues to be violence in Gary, but what really bothers me is
to a high degree.
To a high degree, but what bothers me, and I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again, I have reached out several times to the city of Gary to provide us with some data on the actual number of demolitions that have occurred in Gary. And Dave from Gary, for example, Dave from Gary has sent me a couple text messages and said, and he called in one day and said, it's not a fair comparison to Hammond or East Chicago. Yes, it is. Hammond and East Chicago have gone through and torn down a number of buildings, several thousand buildings in each location, and they did it without state or federal monies. They did it largely with their own tax base. The claim is, Gary's got to take down some big apartment buildings. Really? Because Hammond took down the Kennedy Avenue apartments, which was a huge complex. They took down
with the help of Highland.
With the help of Highland, but they got it done. You look at Hammond took down a multi-unit, I think it was 15-unit building right near the state line, not too far from Harrison Park a few years ago. I mean, they've taken down some large buildings and they've taken down some smaller garage-sized buildings, but they've done it. And when you go and you ask Gary for the numbers, they tell you, we're working on it. We're working on it. They point out that they had 130 buildings taken down by volunteer organizations through the some of the contractors that I've had on the air before with me. And what I want to know is how many buildings have you actually taken down with all the money that you've been given? How many buildings have actually been taken down?
You mentioned Dave Gearman as it relates to Gary. Does Dave Gearman make a lot of money in Gary too, or just at Haven House?
Well, he doesn't make any money off of Haven House. We've already established that there's no money being made at Haven House. That's been very clear. That was clarified 2 weeks ago, and last week, Bobby Costa called on the air and said she used the wrong words. She's older, and we're going to give her a pass on that one. And
be careful what you say. Be careful what you say.
Well, okay, and again, I've also brought up the fact that you can go on and pull up their 990s.
I'm not going to relitigate this.
Because you're wrong.
Because
because you're wrong on that one. Because you're simply wrong. You're passing on false information. They're not getting paid. That's been established.
No, I passed on exactly what Bobby said, but nonetheless,
because Bobby, and you said, wait a minute, and you said last week that until you heard Bobby say that she made a mistake, you weren't going to believe it, but you believe it. She came on, she unequivocally said that she made a mistake.
But I'm not relitigating it now.
Well, no, because you know what? Hey, have a good day. Take care. I'm not gonna continue a conversation with someone who's going to pass on false information, and you know it's false. Thanks for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We have another caller, and we'll go to that call. Good morning. You're on the air.
The violence in Chicago has never been this bad.
I agree.
This police superintendent, he can't take it anymore. He can't work with this guy, Johnson. We're counting the days till Johnson's gone.
Well, I think everybody
All they have to do is let this guy enforce the laws. Okay? If you're a convicted felon caught with a gun, mandatory 5 years in prison. If you commit a crime with a gun, 10 years minimum. You keep blaming the guns. There's more guns in South Lake County than there are in the city of Chicago. There's no gun violence down here.
You know, again, guns don't create violence. The argument that it's all about guns is just false. It's been proven. You're absolutely right. People in Indiana have plenty of guns, okay? And the murder rate is much lower here, all right? It's much lower everywhere here. It's even much lower in the city of Gary than in Chicago. Chicago is out of control. You've got a mayor who makes excuses for teen takeovers and for violence on mass transit and everything else. And Snelling, his superintendent, basically decided to retire. And by the way, if you noticed, he gave 2 weeks' notice. What does that tell you?
Yeah, he's had it.
Absolutely.
Johnson, he is the absolute worst mayor that city has ever had. I didn't think anybody could be worse than Lightfoot. And by the way, Ron, you endorsed Johnson when he first got into office, when you called the socialist program on Tuesdays. And so, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, well, what kind of a job is he doing, Ron? You think he's still a great guy? This guy's got to go. And I tell you, half the Chicago aldermen need to go because they back this guy. You got one of the greatest cities in the world on its knees because of this violence.
You know the problem, the problem that exists in Chicago right now. You mentioned the aldermen. First of all, they have 50. It's way too many. But many of those aldermen and alderwomen fit right into the kind of extreme socialist democratic end of the party. They talk about more handouts instead of fewer. They talk about taking more money from taxpayers to support their programs. Again, the city of Chicago has the most corrupt taxing structure that I've ever heard of. Instead of saying this is how much money we have coming in, they basically set a budget and then set the tax rate to support that budget. So you could do anything you want because they're just going to pass that cost on to the taxpayers. And it's totally corrupt. And I think you're right when you say that half the city council should go. It's probably more than half.
Thanks, Tom. Take care.
All right. Thank you. 845-1100 is the number to call. And we have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you? Hey, by the way, just an update on the door. I did cool it down. It did start to kind of reshape itself. But I did go and get 1.5-inch aluminum angle iron and bolstered it a bit. So not going to have that problem again. But thanks for helping me
Nice.
solve that problem.
Well, you're welcome. So, I was calling in for an update on the conversation we had last week about the Hugo Chavez socialist dream housing, that was done in Venezuela that all collapsed in the last, the earthquakes. Did you see the story about the Venezuelan military being sent out not to help dig people out, not to help, shovel and stuff like that? They're around carrying guns and going through all the debris and finding stashes of dollar bills and gold bars in the buildings. Did you see those stories at all, Tom?
No, I've not seen that. That's very interesting. So basically, they're conducting government-sponsored looting?
Yes, exactly. And it's been well documented in all kinds of social media. So, all these, again, I just keep harping back on all these young people who are being indoctrinated by these liberal leftist, universities, getting their worthless, degrees where they're going to go out and be baristas and burrito makers. They're learning to love socialism where it hasn't worked anyplace except for the very elite of these societies. And just pointing out how terrible this free stuff is that they keep promising people. 60,000 people are still missing in Venezuela. Anyway, I also wanted to touch on, I wanted to talk like David Attenborough and give you an update on the rhino behavior that we should find interesting, but I didn't want to try my British accent. But can we talk about some rhino behavior that I find really fascinating right now?
Sure.
Supposedly Mitch McConnell is on life support in a hospital in D.C. And where is his wife? Have you heard that story, Tom?
Well, I heard that she's in China. I heard that she took a trip to China.
3 days after your spouse has a heart attack and you decide to take a trip to China. Is that some interesting behavior for rhino? Rhino behavior is fascinating, almost like the rhino behavior of our state senators voting for voting against giving us a 7 or was it 9 Republican districts out of the state, and it's really fascinating.
Maybe Elaine Chao got medical advice from Jill Biden, since Jill Biden basically felt that her husband was having a stroke and then took him to IHOP. Maybe
right. She's a doctor too. By the way,
she's a doctor. Yeah, she's a doctor. So maybe Dr. Jill diagnosed Mitch McConnell. Maybe that's the problem, because I agree with you. I saw that article and I said, wait a minute, that's got to be a joke, right? And it's like, nope, it's true. I mean, her family owns the second or third largest shipping company on earth, and she went to attend a business, and her husband is literally, the word on the street is
there's
he's not going to be
speculation
around
that
much
he's
longer.
not alive right now.
Yeah, that if
There's
he is alive,
that he's not.
If he is alive, he's
brain
not conscious.
activity.
Right.
He's a vegetable, and she's the only person that can sign off and pull him off life support. But they won't do that until it's safe for a Democratic governor in Kentucky to go ahead and pick his replacement. So this stinks to high heaven, and it's amazing to me that we don't see these stories across the media. Going back to your story earlier about how corrupt the media is, they not only protect the Democrats and amplify the Democrats, but they also help protect and amplify the rhinos, especially the ones that will go along. Like the other day, there was a conversation about the heat and how people should turn their air conditioners down. And I can't remember which reporter it was, but she's like, go ask Nikki Haley. That was so weird and bizarre. Like, ask Nikki Haley. Why? Because she's a rhino and she's going to go along with the party line about, turning air conditioners down. It's just so bizarre how these people behave. And once you step away, I haven't had cable TV in 10 years at least. Watching it from a distance, you actually can see how utterly bizarre these people behave. And it is so partisan, so cult-like. It just mind-blowing.
Well, here I'm going to
Anyway,
throw one out. One of the I think he's one of the worst talking heads on television. I know he's popular, but David Muir from ABC News. If you remember last year during the wildfires in California, it was actually shown by one of the competing networks that David Muir basically had put like clothespins to snug up his rain slicker.
Oh yeah.
And remember that whole thing? And I mean, it showed what a fraud he was and how he basically was running from the car to do the reporting, getting back in the car, and he wasn't out there with the people like he was, being portrayed. And I mean, he was just a total scam artist.
Yeah.
And then he wins.
It's all.
Then he wins a Peabody.
Mirrors,
he wins a Peabody Award for his reporting on those wildfires. And I'm thinking to myself, how much did he pay for the Peabody Award? The Peabody Award used to be this award to distinguish yourself in the field of reporting, and now it's worthless because of that guy winning it. I mean, it was the biggest scam. His own crews threw him under the bus and said, "Yeah, it's true. The guy's totally vain. He's running from the car. He's screaming at us. Make sure you get this shot because I won't have to do it again." And then they give him a Peabody Award for his in-depth, on-scene coverage of the wildfires. I mean, the guy's a total fraud. And he gives this big heartfelt speech about how this means so much to him because it just, it just basically confirms his commitment to the American people. It's like, you're a scam artist. Your own crews from ABC News were the ones leaking it to, I believe it was NBC and CBS that actually first reported about it, and then Fox picked it up, about the fact that David Muir was a total scam artist. And, and then they expect people to believe the garbage that they serve up every night.
Yeah. Hey, last thing I'll just ask, have you seen the new movie Citizen Vigilante that's streaming on YouTube and was free on Twitter for a few days last week?
No, I have not.
Pretty amazing movie. And it had a $750,000 budget to make it, and it's clearing close to $100 million right now in streaming revenue. And that's compared to almost an exact duplicate of the same plot and everything, but from a liberal Antifa perspective, and I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like it won some Oscars this past Oscar season, and everyone said, this is a great movie. Exact same plot, only coming from the Antifa position, as opposed to like patriotic people who are trying to defend their countries from migrant overflow. And, this movie, Citizen Vigilante, is being completely panned by all kinds of, critics. And it has, the Hollywood movie had a $150 million budget, and it hasn't even made, $60 million back. So it's a total flop. This one made for $750,000, a total win. If you can stream it, watch this movie, folks. It's a phenomenal movie.
I will try and watch it. I will say shout out to Mad Mac, our resident movie critic, because I haven't heard anything from him yet. So maybe he can call in and give his opinion, because when it comes to movies, Mad Mac is the man. I mean, I hate to admit it. Hate to give him too many compliments, but he is right on target usually on movies. So
little insider baseball, Tom. I'm the one who recommended he see it.
Aha. Very good. So when he calls in and says that he's seen it, we know who recommended it to him. Hey, thanks so much for the call,
but
Mark.
he is supposed to be seeing young George Washington today. He's supposed to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, so I can go see that.
It's hard to believe, but Mad Mac is such a discerning, good movie critic. It baffles me sometimes because it doesn't.
We should have a segment on Tuesdays, Mad Max Movie Corner.
Yeah,
on
awesome. Tuesdays. I'd love to do it on Wednesdays. I actually love to do it on Wednesdays. Hey, thanks so much for the call. I know we've got callers holding. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. You're listening to the morning call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. It's Tom Dabertin. We'll be right back, and then we'll take your calls.
Head on over to St. George Greek Orthodox Church in Cherville for Greek Fest 2026 on July 16th through 19th. Come and enjoy the Greek experience with delicious foods like lamb, shish kebab, Greek chicken, spanakopita, and many desserts, including our delicious loukimades. Check out our drive-through options. We offer free admission, music, dancing, and a $14,000 raffle. Located at 528 West 77th Avenue in Cherville. For more information, contact the church office at 219-322-6165.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
All right, and just a traffic update. The Dan Ryan is backed up to the Skyway, but now that backup extends all the way on to the Bishop Ford, basically down to about 103rd and Stony Island. So it is just solid from 103rd and Stony Island all the way into the Circle Interchange this morning. So some alternatives. It's primarily going to be Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive is also showing some stress this morning, starting around 83rd, all the way, basically all the way in now to downtown. You might take a look at State Street as an alternative. It looks like it's moving okay. And in Northwest Indiana, keep an eye out on Klein Avenue, north and south, due to construction. With that, let's go back to the calls. Good morning. You're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay, yeah, just a couple of points I think that illustrate the rot by our elected officials that's actually driving this country into a wall. Their loyalties. There was an alderwoman from Chicago on the news the other day at Puerto Rican Fest, and she was bragging about how wonderful it is to keep in touch with their roots and to actually be able to keep in contact with home. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, she's a alderwoman in Chicago, and she's talking about Puerto Rico as home?
Well, but Puerto Rico is part of the United States. I mean, Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
Yeah, but where is she a representative, in San Juan or Chicago?
Well, I get that, but I think I saw that same interview, and her point was, I think that she was trying to point out that the Puerto Rican community is very strong in Chicago, and if you know Puerto Ricans, they are very, very proud of the things they've been able to do and kind of restoring their islands.
Mexican, I'm proud to be half Mexican, but I don't go bragging about going home. I mean, the connotation there. And then the second point, it just came out now that one of the and this is bipartisan, one of the Republican congressmen that is really promoting the melding of the Israeli and American militaries under the renewal of the NDAA under Section 219. This will actually give Israel's military unfettered access to the deepest secrets of the Pentagon, and nobody's ever had this before. But it's starting. But the support is starting to falter on this thing, and this particular congressman, I wish I could remember his name, but anyway, he's starting to have second thoughts about it now because he's been getting irate calls from his constituents because they just recently had a case in Israel in the West Bank where the son of an American citizen was beaten to death by a mob of Israeli property thieves that were stealing land from the Palestinian people living there, and nothing from our government.
Well, let me just point out that history basically, you hope you learn from history, but every time we've had a really close ally, and yes, we have a close alliance with Israel, but we had a very close alliance with Great Britain, for example, during World War II, didn't we? And
we
who
never
basically
gave anybody
wait a
this
minute,
kind of
right?
access
But
to
who
it.
gave up the secrets on the atom bomb? Was basically
nobody.
Well, the British actually, a lot of the leaks that went to the Soviets came through the British. So,
well, if you know the history about that, it wasn't given; it was stolen.
Well, it was
Stalin
stolen.
had molds inside the Manhattan Project, like Leo Szilard was one of them. They actually stole the secrets to the A-bomb, and that was all under the auspices of, under FDR. His FBI basically just stood by and let it happen. The Soviets had the secrets to the A-bomb. That's why when FDR told Stalin about it at Yalta, Stalin didn't even blink an eye. He knew all about it. He probably knew more about the Manhattan Project than FDR did.
Yep, absolutely. He knew all about it, and
Right.
and again,
But
history
anyway,
history
get
should
back to my
be
point.
history should be a lesson for us that you don't trust any of your allies to the point that you give them access,
Right.
unfettered access.
But my point is we've got bipartisan politicians in this country worried more about foreign nations or even possessions like Puerto Rico. The Democrats actually want to make it a state. But we've got, which would probably be the better, if we're going to go that route, we might as well. But anyway, my point is that we've got, the reason that we're in the situation we're in this country is because we got a bipartisan elected officials that actually care more about what Uncle Sam could do for their pet projects than they do about the American people. We're at the caboose of this train. The American people be damned. They could care less about us. They've all got their special interests. Some of them are getting fat and rich off these special interests, and they serve them. They don't serve us. They serve them. And when they come out on the news and tell you flat out they're talking about their home in Puerto Rico when they're a city alderman in Chicago, that pretty much tells you all you need to know.
No, I agree with you. And by the way, the spies I was thinking of, Klaus Fuchs, Harry Gold, and let's not forget David Greenglass, a.k.a. the brother-in-law of Julius Rosenberg, who, of course...
Well, that was the H-bomb, not the A-bomb.
Well, no, it was the A-bomb. No, it was the A-bomb. It was the A-bomb because the trial was before the H-bomb. But again... Take a look on it. You'll find out.
I will, but they executed him for the H-bomb
their kids continue to claim that they were innocent, even though even the Russians have disclosed that they were as guilty as sin. So, hey, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
I have a good news item out of Hammond, but I wanted to make the point that indeed the Rosenbergs were executed for their involvement in passing intelligence to the Soviets about the A-bomb. It wasn't the H-bomb, the A-bomb. And it's an article of faith amongst the left that the Rosenbergs were innocent.
Oh, they continue to claim. They continue to claim that they're innocent. Their sons. I mean, I get it. Their sons. It was their parents, but they were guilty as all hell. I mean, David Greenglass was a machinist at Los Alamos during the Manhattan Project. He gave the information to Ethel, who was typing up all the notes, and Julius was passing it on. And they still claim to this day, oh, no, they were persecuted. And who basically finally came out after the fall of the Soviet Union and said, yep, that's where we got the information. But the KGB exposed them. And yet, no, the KGB was in bed with the Republicans. It's like, really? Come on.
Well, my wife is originally from Germany, and when the war ended in the Second World War, they were living on the Soviet side of the demarcation, and so my wife attended school under the communists. And when the Rosenbergs were executed, in the school that she attended, they had pictures of the Rosenbergs with black crepe around it, and they were told that the Rosenbergs were martyrs for socialism, type thing. So it's what the left propagates and believes is just nothing less than astounding. It never ceases to amaze me. But moving along to something good news, there was an item in yesterday's Times headline: Hammond business owners featured in a national ad campaign. And Harbor Freight, the national tool retailer, recently filmed a commercial for a national ad campaign at Paradise Mototiki Company and Live Free Enterprises in downtown Hammond. Now, I don't know anything about Mototiki, but Live Free Fabrications in downtown Hammond, I'm quite familiar with it because they featured on the local public television on a series of programs called Eye on the Arts kind of thing, and they were featured in that series. The business is owned by Audrey and Brian Zelenka, and their business is in the business of they have a fabrication shop specializing in car restoration, custom builds, furniture, railings, machining, and other metal fabrication services. Their business is located at 489 Fayette Street in downtown Hammond. The article notes something I had no idea about, and that is at that location that they have a business, a tiki lounge and restaurant at that location. I'm going to check that out. But the local public television series featuring the Zelenkas was quite interesting. They had quite an interesting story. Both of them are involved with doing the business, and apparently it's pretty successful business because they noted that in their dealings with customers, if the customer wants something that does not fit into their style and sense of what's important, that they won't take the business, and they'll refer the party to another operation kind of thing.
So again, they're being featured in a national ad campaign for Harbor Freight, you said?
Yes, right. And I haven't seen it, but perhaps a little bit too early to talk about it. Now,
I haven't either. But I have to say I've bought quite a few tools and items from Harbor Freight. I didn't used to. I was sold on name brand, and just a shout out to Mayor Anthony Copeland, the mayor of East Chicago. One time I was talking to him, and we were talking about a plumbing issue, and the mayor, if you didn't know, he was a fireman, but he was also a plumber on the side back in the day. And he said to me, well, why don't you just buy, I was talking about buying a drum router, and he said, well, why don't you just buy it at Harbor Freight? And I said, I don't know about those brands. And he said, Tom, take a look at the casing. He said, take a look at the one at Harbor Freight and the one that I was going to buy, I think, at Home Depot. He said, just go take a look at both. He said, you got a phone. He said, take some photos. He said, and then you tell me which one is the better deal. And sure enough, it was basically the same. It was the same item. It was the exact same item, but I was going to spend an extra $100 on that drum router. And it was Mayor Copeland who said, nah, it's the same. It's the exact same piece of equipment. And I have bought a number of things at Harbor Freight over the years, and really some kind of cool contraptions, too. One for a trim router. That has a really unique guide on it that I haven't been able to find anywhere else. So they have some good tools. Always nice to see a local business get featured, that's for sure.
Well, my hat's off to any guy who's handy. I and my three brothers, my two brothers are not handy at all. And our father was a very handy guy. And he, whenever we'd ask him to show him some stuff as to how he worked and so forth, he refused. He wanted us to be white-collar guys. That was his big objective. So he kept us away from doing any kind of handiwork. I'd like to offer one more thing about the Rosenberg case.
Sure.
Mrs. Rosenberg was offered a deal by the FBI saying, just give testimony in court that you were told to type up certain kind of papers. And she refused. And then they said to her, look, I mean, you could save your life and just do a little bit of time in jail, and you'll be able to raise your sons. She refused. Because why? She wanted to be a martyr for socialism. So she could have saved her life if she had chosen to. She chose not to.
You're right about that. You're absolutely right. She basically died to make a political statement.
Right.
Ethel had the chance basically to save herself, and she didn't. And I'm sorry, but the Maripol sons, that's their names. I couldn't remember. I had to look it up.
Right.
They have basically just lied and lied and lied. And I get it. It's their parents, and so they're going to believe a lot of things that most of us wouldn't believe. But they even, if you remember, they even petitioned, I think, President Obama to issue a pardon to at least to the mom, and he refused after he looked at the case. I mean, there's irrefutable evidence of what they did. It's not like the 1950s, 60s, and 70s where there was still some maybe question about some of the things that happened. I mean, once the fall of the Soviet Union, the KGB basically said, "Yep, that's where we got our information from," and there's no doubt. And David Greenglass, her brother, what a scumbag he was. And I again can't remember guys like Klaus Fuchs. He was another one. So they were all in basically in bed with the Soviets and really gave up the atomic secrets to the Soviet Union. So just another reason why, again, you cannot trust a foreign power. And I bring that up because most of those spies, Gold, Fuchs, and Greenglass, were all British citizens. And it was, we allowed the British to work hand in hand with us on the project at Los Alamos, the Manhattan Project, and they turned on us. That's where the leaks were from. So there you go. Hey, Walt, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've got another caller, so we'll take that call, and then we'll go to another break. Good morning. You're on the air.
You're talking about how outrageous the crime in Chicago is getting earlier.
Yes.
Which it is. Do you pay attention to any police scanner recordings from Lake County, from all the towns around here?
I do to a point. A lot of the immediate news that I get is from Region News Source. I shout out to Paul Goddard. They do a great job keeping you up to date on the most immediate stuff. But I do see some of the posts of the 911 dispatch calls as well. Yes.
Yeah. We ain't doing it so hot here either. This is getting worse by the week, man.
Well, our overall crime rate in Northwest Indiana is actually pretty steady and lower than it's been. I mean, the number of murders in communities in Northwest Indiana is relatively low compared to Chicago. I mean, Chicago is completely out of control. But I will never, ever say that low is good enough, right? Because even the loss of one life, even one rape, even one robbery is too many.
Yeah. Well, just to let you know, do you have an iPhone?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, if you go to the App Store, there's an app. It's called Crime Radar, and download this app. And it don't even ask for an email address. It just boom, it's on there. And then you just type in whatever zip code you want to hear the 911 dispatch calls from, and it'll make your jaw drop. It's like, these people have lost their minds, these criminals.
You know what? I used to actually have a different app on my phone, and when I got a new phone, I got rid of it. Simply, my concern is that you just spend too much time listening to that. You're right. It's amazing. It's I don't want to say entertaining, but it certainly draws you in. And I just had to give it up because I was spending too much time listening. So I agree with you. I agree with you. It's amazing. Look, we had the robbery of White Castle in Whiting last week. Okay, and the guy sitting there.
Armed robbery.
Yeah. I mean, he got caught. All right, but I find it, I find it amazing how brazen people are. I mean, this day and age, they walk into stores. You see people, I'll go to Walmart, for example, and you see people and they're walking out and they didn't pay for the things that they have in their cart. They're just brazen. They go and they do that self-checkout and they ring up two things and walk right out the door and they got a whole shopping cart full of stuff and nobody cares.
No, nobody cares. It's crazy. Like everybody talks about Chicago. We're definitely not living in Pleasantville here right now.
Well, I think part of it, though, is it's a national problem. We have too many people who have gotten this idea that crime is okay as long as it's not, they've put crime on a different scale. When I was growing up, when you were growing up, any crime was wrong, right? All crime was wrong. Now it's like, well, it's wrong, but it's not a big deal if you shoplift. Well, and then, it's not a big deal if you drive under the influence. Well, it's not a big deal. They make excuses for what they consider to be, lower level crime. Crime is crime, okay? If you,
it's just like California shoplifting. Keep it under $1,000, and we ain't gonna take you to jail. We're just gonna give you a ticket. Just keep it under 1,000, though. All right?
It's the same.
These people are crazy.
It's the same in Illinois and Chicago. I think I told the story. I was working downtown a couple of years ago in Chicago. I used to go to the Walgreens, which was just down the street from my office. And the reason why is because I found out that the price of toothpaste, for example, in downtown Chicago was the same price as it was in Whiting. So if I needed toothpaste and stuff like that, deodorant, I just went to the Walgreens. So I walked across one day and I'm in there and there's this guy and I'd seen him in there before, kind of scuzzy looking, long hair, has a backpack in the middle of summer. And he's watching me and I'm thinking, is this guy going to try and, rob me? I mean, what's he up to? So I go and I grab the toothpaste and he goes, oh, good selection. And he goes over and he takes all the toothpaste. Hello? You there? I think we lost you, but I'm going to go ahead and tell the story so you can hear this. So the guy goes over and he basically takes the his arm and he sweeps all of the toothpaste into his bag. And he walks up to the counter and he just gives this stare to this woman. And just to put things in perspective, it was an older African-American woman. And I said, ma'am, do you know what he just did? And she said, I know all about it. And she said, if I tell my manager again, I'm going to get fired. My manager says that I'm not allowed to complain about him nor call the police. I walk out of the Walgreens. I walk down the street. He's standing on the corner, and he's now selling the very toothpaste that I just bought for $7. He's now selling it for $1 a box, and everybody's lined up to buy it. And that's okay in Chicago. 845-1100 is the number to call. You're listening to Tom Dabertin on the morning call. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention, and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
I'm Pastor Eric Boone, pastor of the Tree of Life Church here in the great city of Gary, Indiana. the Notre Dame Credit Union. Go beyond and above to make sure that we are in position to make that greater impact. Listen, this credit union is one of a kind, and I'm looking forward to the future because I know that we will continue to do greater things together, and I'm forever grateful for a credit union like this.
Visit NotreDameFCU.com.
Hey Region, I'm T, and I grew up in East Chicago, went to college in Gary, worked out of Munster, and raised my family in Crown Point. I'm Region to the core. I created Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region. Add it to chicken, fish, pizza, eggs, and more for the perfect blend of heat and flavor. Visit RegionHotSauce.com for a complete list of locations or to order direct. Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region.
All right, we're back, and I want to give an update on traffic. Now we've got a backup on 8094 going into Illinois. It's basically backing up from about the state line, really about Calumet now, all the way to the Bishop Ford. So be careful this morning. If you're inbound, you're westbound on 8094, you're going to have some pretty heavy traffic now from Calumet Avenue. Really, it's showing even past the Bishop Ford. Basically, it's going to take you all the way out to somewhere around Halstead. And then the problem gets worse. Up on the Bishop Ford, it's now backed up to 130th, and it is a backup all the way into downtown, all the way through the Bishop Ford and the Ryan now. Just a complete gridlock, complete nightmare. And Lakeshore Drive isn't going to give you a lot of relief either. Lakeshore Drive, starting about 80th Street, all the way into downtown is now backed up. The only suggestion that I can give you, I used to take, is I take the Skyway, get off on State Street, and take State Street. Usually moves a little bit faster. So be careful out there. Do you want to do an update on weather as well?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 74 degrees with highs of 89 and lows of 70. It's going to be mostly sunny. Air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Later tonight will be clear to partly cloudy and humid. And tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 85 and lows of 68. Should be mostly cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm from late morning on. And Friday we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 67 with times of clouds and sun with a shower in places and humid.
All right, 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've got callers, so we'll go right to those calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I just want to get your thoughts on the what I think is a staged production. Photographer on the DC train took pictures of these so-called white nationalists, the masked white nationalists with the young black woman there. I think this is another Southern Poverty Law Center staged production. If there's a reporter from Reuters, why didn't they follow these guys?
You know, I kind of wondered the same thing. I saw the picture, and it's disturbing. and look, these white nationalists, they're comic book characters, okay? They're usually comic book characters.
Who are they?
Well, you know, I actually did meet one before, and he told me, you know, his beliefs, and to be very honest with you, he looked like a guy that I probably shoved in a locker in high school, okay? So I really... I think they exist. I think they're cartoon characters. There's very few of them, and they staged these photos. I wonder about that photo. I wonder about it. It does seem pretty staged to me. I mean, you're right. The Reuters reporter just happens to be there, captures this photo, and there's the one black woman. She's sitting there, and then they don't follow these guys and take any additional photos, and they don't even interview the woman who's sitting there. It seemed a little hard to believe, but regardless, I do know that they were in Washington. There were other reports of them, and there's some video of them marching down the street. I think they're a bunch of comic book characters, and they're repulsive, and they have no business doing what they do, okay? I don't think it's right to make people feel uncomfortable. based on race. I don't want to feel uncomfortable if I drive through the south side of Chicago, and a black woman shouldn't feel uncomfortable being on a bus or a train with a bunch of idiots dressed up as white supremacists. And so I think it just feeds in the narrative. And like you said, maybe it's part of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Maybe it's one of their productions.
And I wonder if Ray Epps is behind one of those masks.
Yeah, to me it doesn't. It just seems
it's a joke. It's a joke. It was all a production to take away Independence Day. This Independence Day celebration. The left had to do something to water down, the 250th anniversary of this great country. All right, Tom.
And by the way, just one more thing. What was with liberals saying they couldn't celebrate this nation? You're celebrating the history of this nation, which they claim they contributed to, and then they can't celebrate it. What a sham! Right. What a sham and what a shame!
And especially, the African American guys who, this country is their history. They've got more roots in this country than my family, whose grandparents came here in the 30s.
Right, and
they've got more invested in this country, and they've got it's the greatest country in the world, and they'd rather be bitter and hateful. A lot of them, not all of them. A lot of them are very, very, very grateful. And but
that's what I was going to say. The good news is that there are a lot of African Americans that are very grateful and very proud of this country, and they serve this country in the military, and they've done some great things. And so, there are a couple of screwballs in every single race and ethnicity exist, and it's unfortunate that these so-called white supremacist idiots march around periodically and parade, because they're again, they may as well wait for Halloween. Hey, thanks for the call. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, very quickly here, Tom.
Yes.
You asked me on the 4th of July, what did I like about America? And I told you how grateful I was.
Yes, you did.
Of America, right?
Yep.
But now I didn't tell you what I really dislike about America and need to change. What is going on today, I don't like that, okay? I don't like we're fighting with the world, friends. I don't like this. The fact is that I'm thinking these people who come to Washington and on the 4th of July, whatever you want to call them, I don't like that. And I think sometimes
I didn't like it either.
The President of the United States. Oh, well, okay. Sometimes the President of the United States, I think he ought to be saying something. Hey, this is not acceptable.
I agree.
But he won't say that.
I agree with you. I
that.
agree that he should have said that was totally unacceptable. I agree with you there. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's the president,
at the same time,
President
Ron,
of the United States.
Ron, but at the same time, I think the previous caller to you is probably right. I think these are people who, again, they're such a minuscule part of the population, and they get so much publicity, and it's part of the problem. The news media gives them attention, and these are people that don't deserve any attention. And so,
but now, in insurrection, he said, "Go home to Proud Boys and be in business, and I love you." Now he said that. Now, it wasn't some fake news. I heard him when his daughter said, "Dad, would you tell those people to go home with the insurrection?" And he finally said, "Go home in peace, and I love you, Proud Boys." Did he not say that? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, I've said before, if
okay.
it were me,
you don't have to answer.
No, I've said this before, Ron, and I've said it to you personally off the air. If I could do anything to help this country right now, one of the things I would do is buy a giant roll of duct tape and put it over Donald Trump's mouth, because Donald Trump does a lot of good things. Right. He does a lot of good things, but he says some really stupid things. He also doesn't know when to shut up. He talks forever, and he makes everything sound like he personally did it, okay? And there is a real problem with Donald Trump. If Donald Trump could just shut up and just do some of the things that he's doing some good things, but he talks too much, and he's his own worst enemy. So we'll leave it there. Hey, take care.
But maybe that's what keeps him in power, though.
Well, that or he owns. Maybe he ought to invest in the brand duct tape, and because boy, he could be a frequent user. That's for sure. Thanks for the call. 845-1100. We've got additional callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
What's the coincidence, Tom, that Robert from Robertsdale calls right after Ron?
Well, hey.
My last comment.
We're going down. We're going down the alphabet.
This is just interesting. I just found it very funny. I have my opinions on Ron's comments. Trump did not say that, that he loves the Proud Boys. I mean, I wonder if Ron even knows that the founder of the Proud Boys is a Latino. I mean, I don't support anything white nationalist or racism or racist individual, and neither does Trump. He publicly has denounced it. So I just find that very comical. Ron calls in and he just spews division every opportunity he gets with his TDS. But speaking of race relations, I mean, I'm sure you probably heard of the issue the Whiting Police Department is going through right now with, I forget his last name, but his last name is Hill. But I forget the gentleman's first name who passed. I believe in police custody. And it's, my concern is that outside individuals are going to use this moment of tragedy that a family's suffering, and it's being investigated independently by, I believe, by the Sheriff's Department here in Lake County. If the individual was harmed by a police officer, and it's discovered that he was harmed by a police officer, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be he's going to be prosecuted, and he should be prosecuted. But if the individual, harmed himself and committed suicide, but people outside of Whiting, outside of this area, are really pushing division. And, the youth around here will believe that it's going to cause problems. And I think that's what we need to look out for. Don't believe everything you read. Wait for the investigation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Keep your cool.
I agree. There's so many posts.
That I live right down by.
There's so many posts about this. And again, it's being investigated. The police chief, John Sotelo, put out a letter almost immediately saying that he had called for an independent investigation. They're cooperating. I think you have to wait and see what the results are of the investigation before you jump to conclusions. But you're absolutely 100% right. When you read social media, boy, you would think that they were in there and they murdered him. And that's the claims that are being made. And
Right. And not only that, what you mentioned, the picture of the black girl in the bus with a bunch of white nationalists. I mean, that's definitely AI. There's pretty much a war of information happening right now, ideologically speaking, socialism being pushed on everybody. Earlier, you kind of sounded like you were leaning towards the right, Tom. When you used the word "those liberals," I really enjoyed when you said that. I was like, well, it's either Tom's becoming an independent or he's leaning right all of a sudden.
I've said this before. I'm independent. I fall in the middle. I'm a centrist. I view the candidate, not the party anymore. I just think that party politics, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, party politics just suck. Okay, they have led to some of the gridlock and some of the problems that we have. I want to elect individuals based on their views, their stands, their opinions, and how willing they're willing to represent me. I don't really want to listen to that party label baloney anymore. Because you know what? I drank that Kool-Aid before and it didn't do any good.
Well, look what's happening now. You have socialists being elected in New York, in Chicago, and now we have socialists running in Hammond, Indiana, and running for the council, for the 1st District Council. If you look at the candidates, I do ask Democrats, look, don't vote blue for no matter who. Expand your mind. If you don't want to vote for a Republican, then don't vote for a socialist. Just stay home. Don't vote blue for no matter who. If you look at the candidates that are running, there's one running for Hammond Council that announced, I believe his name is Aguilar. You can Google him. He's running in the 1st District. Socialist, Democrat socialist, publicly saying he's a socialist. Then you have the one that beats Scott Miller. I believe her name is Christina something in Italian. I forget. I'm sorry. I don't really
follow Nelly or something. Yeah, she's. Well, how about the fact
when
that
she's pushing.
How about the fact that she's also basically related to another county council member and a county office holder, or will be shortly once she gets married.
Not only that, she's the director of economic development for Calumet City. Isn't there like some kind of conflict of interest? You're being elected to bring in businesses to Lake County, Indiana, yet you're going to be the director of Calumet City for bringing small businesses to Calumet City. Which one are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on Lake County, Indiana, or are you going to focus on Calumet City?
Well,
I find it, comical.
Well, as far as Aguilera, I'm going to invite him on. I'd like for him to come on, like Mark Kilwinski to come on, and anybody else that runs for 1st District Councilman in Hammond. I did find it interesting that the first point that he made on his announcement was he talked about Hammond schools, and I wondered if he realized that the one thing that the Hammond City Council has absolutely nothing to do with is the Hammond school system. It's forbidden by law.
I don't think he knows politics in this area very well.
The city council has no say. Yeah, that was what I was wondering is he's talking about the schools. Why not run for school board? Because the schools basically come under the school board, not under the city council. So. But we'll have him on. We'll have him on.
You and I both know. You know they're going to win. You know the people in this area. The sad part is they do vote blue no matter who. I mean, McDermott what I enjoy about McDermott, me being a conservative, he's pro-business. He works with the other side. He worked with the Republicans to bring the Bears over. He has some policies that I disagree with. But overall, he tends to be in the middle, and he's able to work with both sides. Other Democrats, like Ron, they completely block anything red related. Now, even though there's things that are positive that we push, try to push to the community, people in this area, Hammond, Indiana, Whiting, Gary, East Chicago, they're going to continue voting for blue, incompetent people. Now, what concerns me is they're going to vote for blue socialists. Just because they're running as Democrats.
Well, Robert, you brought up McDermott, and a couple of weeks ago he was on with me, and off the air he said to me, I'm really getting beat up by some Democrats over this whole Bears issue. And I said, that's just ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, and he didn't really want to talk about it that day. And yesterday, I believe he had his podcast, and he talked about the fact that he's getting hammered by certain Democrats for working with the Republicans to bring the Bears to Hammond. If the Bears come to Hammond, it's a $5 billion development. $5 billion. It's just massive. It's a game changer that it brings about. You cannot fault the man for everything he's doing.
When he ran.
Some Democrats,
when he ran for state, I'm sorry.
No, some Democrats are mad because he's working with the Republicans. I mean, what fools! Once you get elected, aren't you supposed to represent us and not represent one party or the other? Wow.
Exactly. When he ran for state senate against Todd Young, I think I called in during his campaign, and I told him, I go, man, had you run as a Republican, you probably would have beat Todd Young, because Todd Young's not very popular with Republicans. I was like, you should have switched sides for that one. You switch sides once, you're gonna switch sides, and come back. There's things, but it was a joke. I'm sure he wasn't gonna do it. But yeah, with that, Tom, I mean, I just hope Whiting keeps it under control. If it is discovered that there was wrongdoing by the police, don't cover it. It's gonna make things worse.
No, absolutely.
But if it's proven that this individual harmed himself, I mean, it is what it is. The community needs to come together. We pray for the family that's suffering. Someone passed away, and move on and keep the community together. That's what I wanted to call for. And Ron, read a book. Get off the liberal media. Do some independent research on your own. You sound like a very intelligent man, but you are focused on the wrong things, man. Division is not what we want in this area. Turn off the news. Cure your TDS, for crying out loud.
Well, and one more thing, Robert, one more thing. No, because you bring up a lot of really great points, and I really appreciate your calls. But, even last week we had a guest on who is a Munster Town councilman. He's Republican, and the whole council's Republican.
Jonathan Peterson.
But at times, he basically is at odds with his fellow council members. And I don't know about you, but I want people to be elected that represent me and do all the right things, but I also want cooperation. And I'm not
Right.
saying that he's not cooperating, but there are a lot of people who say that he's not cooperating. And I think when you elect somebody locally, at
I
least
think
you
the
want
one thing he's
cooperation.
not cooperating, I think the people that say he's not cooperating are individuals that don't want to work with him. I think Jonathan Peterson is great for Munster. He's definitely making the right decisions. He cares about Munster. And I think the people that are the Republicans, I mean, I'm leaning towards calling them rhinos, are against him because he exposes, the BS that's happening in that area. I hope Jonathan Peterson runs for higher office. I mean, I think he would have great support in the community because he's speaking the truth. And sometimes, rhino Republicans from Lake County that work with Democrats, they don't like that. Democrats won't work with Republicans, but you know what? The Republicans will work with Democrats. And Jonathan Peters, one that will expose the BS. He's working to make sure that Munster stays on top. He doesn't want it to, and I'm not saying Hammond's bad. I live in I have family that live in Hammond. And Whiting, it's a beautiful town. East Chicago is improving. He wants Munster to be, up there, right, with schools, with infrastructure, and he cares. He genuinely cares, and I think that's what scares some of the Republicans that he speaks the truth, and they don't like it. It's just they're used to Republicans. Hey, well, let's all just do what we say, shake hands, and agree with the Democrats or agree to do this. No, Jonathan Peterson, if he doesn't agree with something, he's going to tell you. To your face or in the council or write an article about it, he'll tell you, I don't agree with this. And he'll give you a very good explanation on why he doesn't agree with it. And it is what it is. I think he should run for higher office, in my opinion.
All right, very good. Thanks so much. Great perspective. Thanks as always. We have one more caller, and then we're going to go to a break because we have Greek Fest joining us. So let's take that caller, and we'll go to a break. Good morning. You're on the air.
It's your world-renowned movie critic.
Hey, it is. Okay. So what do you think of the...
Wait. First,
okay.
First, I think when you were talking about with Robert from Riverside or Riverdale,
Robert from Robertsdale.
Okay, he's awesome. But you used the word cooperating regarding Jonathan Peterson, and I think the word you should have been using is capitulating. Because Jonathan isn't going to simply capitulate with these folks who want to do some semi-insane things like take Ridge Road down to 2 lanes. You can't cooperate with that because that's insane. So he's not going to capitulate to these folks who don't want to do the right thing. And a lot of times doing the right thing means you're going to take some flack.
Yeah, and again, I'm not singling him out. I was just using him as an example. He came on to explain some of the differences that he had. Right? I mean, he did. He did a nice job. He explained the differences he had. So I was just using him, as a recent example of somebody that came on. But I think
if I lived in New York City, I wouldn't be cooperating with Mandani in any way because he's a Muslim extremist who wants to end up with Sharia law running parts of New York City.
I agree,
and
but I think my bigger point this morning is I think it's laughable that, for example, McDermott is now getting criticized by Democrats because he's working with the state Republicans to bring the Bears here. Okay, I think it's laughable when people draw these party lines that it's like, well, you're a Democrat, and you have to be only a Democrat. You're a Republican, you can only be a Republican. You know what? Who cares? Okay, I like Fetterman, who's a Democrat, for example, because Fetterman really has called it out like it is. I mean, he says things about both sides of the aisle in the Senate, and I kind of like that. There's a few others. Josh Hawley is another one who basically will call things out on either side of the aisle. I think those are the people that I identify most with, okay, because they say, hey, you know what? I don't care if it's Democrat. I don't care if it's Republican. Is it right or is it wrong? I mean, do women belong in men's sports? No. Okay, done. All right. I mean, that was, that's the kind of person that I want. So go ahead.
Well, regarding, by the way, when you say a $5 billion development, it's not a $5 billion development. It's a $5 billion expense. There may be revenue on the other side for everybody, but the first thing is we dig a hole, and it's going to cost us $5 billion in cash.
Yeah. Okay.
Then maybe there may be ancillary revenue for us.
Let me just
we're digging
tell you,
a $5 billion hole.
Mad Mac. Let me just tell you the number of people that I've spoken to, and these are some people that, again, you would say, wow, they're interested. I mean, these are big-time names who are interested in developing hotels and restaurants and all kinds of stuff if the Bear Stadium comes to Hammond. I mean, these are household names, and you'd be like, wow. And I've spoken to a couple of myself.
I'm familiar with some of them, but let's not forget, state of Indiana's pitching in a lot of money.
I agree.
A ton of money.
I agree, but it could be a very successful project if it happens. And again, it's still an if. So
yeah.
But let's get
we've
to
heard
the
that
movie.
in every city in America.
Let's get to the movie because
okay,
we do
so
have
the movie basically
the Greek Fest people.
Right. The movie actually was banned in Germany. They won't allow it in a theater or streaming. I was reading about it after I watched it last night, and yes, Mont Hanley gets full credit. This would be the equivalent of like trying to put out like an Archie Bunker show, All in the Family, on TV right now, because this movie steps out and tells you loud and clear that the immigration going through Europe by just opening up the gates and bringing everybody from Africa and let them run over Europe is a disaster for that continent, or if you want to call it Europe a continent. There's not a place in Europe that has benefited from that, and their desire to bring in immigrants to think that they're just all going to get along in the societies you put them in. You throw them in Spain and London and Paris and think, oh, they'll just assimilate without a problem, was insanity 20 years ago.
What's the name
and
of the movie
movie
again?
Comes out.
What's the name of the movie?
Citizen Vigilante. The star of the movie is Armie Hammer, who apparently was having a bad time in the movie industry, and I think he's a German producer who put this thing together, and apparently funded quite a bit of it on his own for like Mont said on a shoestring budget, grossed something like 80 billion or 80 million, but the clarity and the pointedness of how they go through saying that this guy is there to protect society from the vigilante immigrants that are literally running over Europe. I've never seen anything as pointed and as graphic as what they do in this movie. Now, it does get a little out of hand with a couple of these shooting scenes and that, but you wouldn't watch this movie and go, boy, I wonder what the message here is. I can't even, it's almost hard to even say exactly what they're telling you, but it is anti-immigration to the nth degree.
Well,
and
I'm looking at the just the overview right now on Google, and it does look interesting, and it's available on YouTube, right?
You can get it anywhere. YouTube, it's on Amazon Prime. You got to rent it. It's like $6-7, whatever it is. But it is, the message is crystal clear. This immigration stuff, thinking you can bring in anybody from anywhere and it's going to work for you, is literally changing. And it's been going like this for 25 years now in small bits and pieces. But when you live in in Great Britain, when the most popular names of kids being born is, not only now is it Muhammad, it's Muhammad in number 2 spots spelled differently. You've given up your country to a group of people who are not. This isn't a religion; it's a cult, and it's designed like these guys are getting on YouTube to say, "Yeah, we're taking over the world. We're coming to get you and your money and your civilization, and we're going to take it whether you let us or not." And it couldn't be clearer. I mean, it's worth the watch, whether you agree with it or not.
All right. Thanks so much. We've got to go to a break because we've got the guests for Greek Fest. We're going to take a quick break. I just want to point out another update that I just got on my phone about traffic. Traffic is now slowing down all the way back to about Burr Street on 8094 going west. So, and it's not going to get any better until you get all the way to Halstead. So just be careful out there this morning. Lots of traffic. Klein Avenue is also showing a lot of slowdowns. And then when you get to the north end of the Bishop Ford, all the way into downtown is nothing but a backup. We'll be right back. We've got some guests from Greek Fest. Stay tuned. It's Tom Dabertin with the Morning Call on WJOB.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you. And we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Enjoy the taste of summer at the Farmers Market at Fox Point. Every Tuesday from 9 to 1, shop locally grown fresh produce, delicious baked goods, artisanal treats, and local culinary creations. Just minutes from I-8094, the Farmers Market at Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is a perfect spot to hear acoustic musicians, stretch with morning yoga, and enjoy community fun throughout the season. To see all vendors and entertainment, visit foxpoint.org. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
All right, we're back, and as promised, we have a guest here to talk about Greek Fest. Patricia, good morning.
Good morning.
And you know, one thing about the region, one of the great facets of the region is there's a variety when it comes to food, and when it comes to culture. And you know, we're one of the great melting pot areas of the nation, and Greek Fest is an annual event. So tell listeners about the festival, when it starts and the times, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you. Again, good morning. So we have our upcoming 47th annual Greek Fest at St. George Greek Orthodox Church. We are located at 528 West 77th Avenue in Cherryville. So our festival starts Thursday, July 16th. And it goes through Sunday, July 19th. So we have entertainment every night. So Thursday we start off with the band together. So we have them annually kicking off our Greek Fest on Thursday. From 6:30 to 10, they will be performing. And then on Friday, we are going to be having the return of the 80s and 90s music. So we're going to bring back some old school, and that is from 5 to 10. And then on Saturday and Sunday from 5 to 10 p.m. each night, we will be having a Greek band. So we'll be having some traditional Greek music.
All right. And again, it's held at St. George.
St. George Greek Orthodox Church, yes.
Okay, and basically, if you don't know where that is, it's basically take Klein Avenue South. You can't miss it, basically.
So actually, we're located, probably be easier, off of 41 and 77th.
Okay.
So you'll see us right at that intersection. You can't miss us on the left-hand side. It's a big gold dome Greek church.
And how many years have you been having the festival now?
So this is our 47th annual, but we are actually in 3 years we will be celebrating 100 years. So we originated in East Chicago in the Harbor in 1929. So we're actually very excited about that. So we're starting to plan for our 100th anniversary.
So if I remember correctly, there's some unique facets of the festival. I mean, first off, let's talk about the food. So what kind of food can people taste at Greek Fest?
So our famous lamb right off the spit. So we have everyone. It's all hands on deck. So everything, our food's all homemade. So lamb, of course, is our popular item. Our Greek chicken dinners, that's also very popular. We have our shish kebab. Also, we do have a vegetarian plate, and then of course, can't have a Greek fest without some gyro. So we'll have gyro sandwiches, and then some other items: Greek salad, spanakopita, which is our spinach pie. Tiropita is our cheese pie. And also we have a lot of delicious desserts, Greek pastries.
Now, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in years past, there was an option where people could actually pick up some food?
Yes. We actually have a drive-through right in front of the church, and that is, I think, one of our most popular things that we have. You just pull up in front of the church, you place your order, and then you can take it to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a unique facet. So they want you to come out. Look, folks, we want you to come out and enjoy Greek Fest.
Absolutely.
Okay? Enjoy it, be there in person. But if you can't make it for whatever reason, you can still enjoy the food. And unlike most festivals in Northwest Indiana or the Chicago region, for that matter, this is the only festival that I know of that has the drive-through pickup option.
Yeah, we've had that for many years, and it is a great option for somebody, that wants to come and just pick up lunch. Or, as I said, if you can't make it, you could just come on in and pick up some dinners to go.
So how do they access the pickup option?
It's very easy. It's right off of 77th. Of course, we have signs, but you literally pull up in front of the church. It's a semicircle. And you just pull up, and we have our youth that work that every year. They will take your order and bring it right out to you, and you can just drive on out. It's a very simple process.
And again, the festival starts on the 16th.
It does. It starts Thursday, July 16th. Doors open at 4 o'clock. And again, we're open till, it's 4 to 10 on Thursday. We would love to have everybody come out. It's a very popular event. We'd love to see people come out and eat and dance and enjoy. And also we do have a raffle, so you do have an opportunity to win some money. So we are selling our raffle tickets. They are $20 each. First prize is $10,000. Second prize is $2,500, and the third prize is $1,500.
Any number on the tickets? Any limit on the number of tickets total that are being sold, or is it open?
Nope, it's open. So we are selling them.
Still good prize, and they're how much a piece?
They're $20 each.
$20 each. So you get a chance on some good money. There's a lot of entertainment. Again, you mentioned there's some traditional Greek entertainment, but there's also some throwback bands, Together being the first band, and then the 80s, 90s music on Friday night, is it?
That is correct. So we're bringing the old school back on Friday night.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to call 80s and 90s old school. 70s maybe, but well, that's okay. I'm showing my age.
Maybe we'll throw some 70s in there for you.
Well, there you go. Maybe a few 70s. You know what? A lot of the early 80s music and 70s music, it's kind of a very blurred demarcation by any means. 47 years, but you're going to celebrate your 100th. You started in 1929 in the Harbor with the festival, so a couple years away. The festival obviously is a good fundraiser, okay?
Correct.
And so there's no doubt about that. But what does the festival mean to you beyond being such a great fundraiser?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it just brings all the communities together, and it does help support our ministries within the church, of which we do give back. We have our outreach committee. We have other ministries that we help support in the area. We've supported the veterans. We've supported local nonprofits. So, it's not just solely a fundraiser, because we do give back a lot to
So money
various
goes to a lot of
communities.
good causes. It's just a good time. It's a lot of fun. Give the hours if you would, please.
Absolutely. So Thursday we kick off on July 16th from 4 to 10. Friday as well from 4 to 10. And then Saturday and Sunday we are open actually, I think, noon to 10.
All right. So you've got plenty of hours to attend. It is again, a long-standing festival and activity in Northwest Indiana. Lots of great Greek food, lots of entertainment. Lots of the money goes to good causes. I mean, it's just a common sense opportunity for people to have a good time in Northwest Indiana. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend. Yeah, starting July 16th. So yes, it's a great opportunity. We love to see. We have our regulars that come. We have people that come literally out of town strictly for our Greek Fest. So. It's a great time. Us at the church, like I said, we all pull together. We all work the 4 days pretty much. So it's hard work, but we also enjoy doing that.
And Patricia, it also has one of the most unique facets of any festival that I know of in Northwest Indiana, which it has the drive-through. If you can't participate at the festival, if you can't spend the time out there, you're working, you can't get around, you can pull up your car and you can basically get food to go.
Absolutely. Very simple, easy process. Like I said, it's right in front of the church, very well organized. So yes, if you can't come and attend in person, come on by and pick up some delicious food.
And again, it's located at 41 and...
So it's off the intersection of Route 41 and 77th. The address is 528 West 77th Avenue in Cherville.
But if you are coming north from Klein Avenue, you're not going to get lost. It's pretty easy
not
to
at all.
find. I mean,
Absolutely.
It really is. I remember giving directions some years ago to somebody, and they said, well, they're coming from the north, and they said, well, what do I do? And I said, just get on Klein Avenue, just keep on going. Go through Griffith and keep on going. And they're like, yeah, but then what? I said, trust me, I didn't know the exact address at the time, and I said, but you won't miss it. You'll know, you'll see the crowds, you'll know where you're going.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of fun. It starts on the 16th, runs through Sunday. And again, part of the fabric of Northwest Indiana, folks. So get out and enjoy the festival and make people like Patricia, who put hours and hours and hours of work in planning this thing all year long, make their effort a success. Okay, so we want you to go out and enjoy Greek Fest starting on the 16th in Cherville, and. Again, is there a site or a number they can call if they want more information?
Absolutely. We are on social media. We're on Facebook, on Instagram. So you can look us up at St. George Greek Orthodox Church Northwest, NWI. Or if you'd like to give us a call, the office number is 219-322-6165.
Well, thank you for what you do, and thank you for thanks on behalf of everybody else that puts us together. I know how difficult festivals are to organize, and it's a lot of work. And but it's also very gratifying when you see a lot of people attending. So we want to pack the place. So
yes, everybody, come on out, come and see me. I'll be in the food line.
Absolutely right. So look for Patricia, folks. Again, beginning on the 16th of July, out in Cherville. You'll have a great time. You'll be happy that you did. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and listen to more of your calls. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 and 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Head on over to St. George Greek Orthodox Church in Cherville for Greek Fest 2026 on July 16th through 19th. Come and enjoy the Greek experience with delicious foods like lamb, shish kebab, Greek chicken, spanakopita, and many desserts, including our delicious loukemades. Check out our drive-through options. We offer free admission, music, dancing, and a $14,000 raffle. Located at 528 West 77th Avenue in Cherville. For more information, contact the church office at 219-322-6165.
Come to Bands, Bikes, and Brews on Saturday, July 18th at Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois. A celebration of rock, motorcycles, and cold brews explodes at 3 p.m. with live music from Grindstone, Fatal Order, and Count 77. rock out with headliner LA Guns. Rev up with special guest and bike judge Danny the Count Coker from the History Channel's Counting Cars. Admission is just $20. For tickets or to register your bike, visit foxpoint.org. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you. And we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
All right, and you just heard Patricia, volunteer at Greek Fest at St. George's and out in Cherville, and you know, wonderful aspect of volunteerism and fun in Northwest Indiana. But I've got to touch on a story that Region News Source and the Times both covered. However, Region News Source listed the actual names, and I'm really bothered by this, folks. You know, I'm a big dog lover. But this happened on July 1st on the 5500 block of Jackson Street in Maryville. And basically, police came. When they arrived, they found a small black dog lying motionless beneath a swing set. Investigators determined the dog was tethered in a way that prevented it from escaping the direct sunlight. Although a water bowl was in the yard, the dog could not reach it. According to Maryville police, the outdoor temperature was above 90 degrees. They immediately attempted to cool the dog with water and offered water and drink. They then put it in their squad cars, rushed it to Crossroads Medical Center, and the dog died of heat exhaustion. And veterinarians noted that a normal canine's body temperature ranged from 99.5 to 102 degrees, 102.5, and that the dog's temperature was above the thermometer's measurable range. I bring this up because the individuals, Jasmine Yates and Takalia Rencher, what a miserable example of human life you both are, to do what you did to that dog. To not care for your dog, to tie it up, leave it in direct sunlight, a black fur dog, so it's going to absorb heat, and it's come to heat exhaustion. I just think it's absolutely awful, and it says a lot about you. And I hope anybody that's listening who knows those people, let them know that they're absolute scum. Dogs are wonderful. Lynette, you and I were just talking about dogs yesterday. You've got a dog, and you shared with me a video, in fact, of your dog, a little car that it chases around the yard. I mean, you love your dog, right? They give that unceasing love to you and to your family, and dogs are just wonderful, and I love Luna and Sophie, and I just can't believe that somebody was this careless and just didn't really care about the value of life. If we can do that to dogs who are so loyal and so loving, just imagine what we can do to human beings. And when we talk about the crime rates in Chicago or crime in Northwest Indiana, it's people like this who don't value life, who have no understanding of how important life is, and especially to ignore a pet and just leave them out in the yard and let them die baking in the sun. Just how despicable it is. And I appreciate Paul Goddard and Region News Source for actually listing the names, and appreciate the fact that the Times reported on it as well. Although I disagree with the idea of not reporting the names. I think when people commit crimes, you put their names out there so people know what they're living with or living amongst. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've been talking about a lot of things this morning, and look, one thing's for sure. I think we have universal agreement for a change when it comes to Brandon Johnson. I've not had anybody call in and say he's a decent mayor. He's a complete buffoon and idiot. We have been talking about this issue with Graham Plattner. So he's a candidate for Senate in Maine. The Democrats knew about this man's background for months. It was no big secret. It was said there was more to come. So now he's basically been accused by 2 women of rape. And you still have some liberal pundits like Mika from Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough's wife, who's trying to protect this guy by saying, well, we don't have absolute proof. What does she want? Does she want the results of a rape kit? Does she want pictures? I mean, to say we don't have absolute proof. I mean, what a moron she is. So 845-1100, I'm just bothered by some of the things the liberal media says. Again, it's why the majority of people in this nation can no longer trust in the news media at the national level. I think you can still trust some of the local news sources, obviously, but when you get to the national level, it's very tough to trust because they just make up things that aren't true. They promote and promulgate false information and out-and-out lies, and then they try to cover for individuals that they feel fit their agenda. So Graham Plattner probably will resign today or tomorrow. I guess he's holding out because he wants to make sure that the person that replaces him on the ticket is as liberal as he is. And if I'm a Democratic leader in Maine, I'm looking to make sure that whoever it is that we put on there is going to be not as despicable as Graham Plattner. We also were talking about the issue of BP oil earlier today, and the fact that Mayor McDermott sent back the donation that they made to Festival of Lakes. Again, I do think that, and I don't want to be Hippocratic, so, but I do think that BP does need to do a lot more when it comes to supporting local events and local activities. But I also agree that now's not the right time to accept their money. So love to hear your opinion on that. And then, of course, I just mentioned the dog death in Maryville. Lynette, you're young. I mean, a lot younger than me. You're an adult, but a lot younger than me. You got to wonder what goes through people's minds to do what those 2 women did with that dog.
I also can't really understand it. What's the point in having a dog if you're not going to take care of it or even let it inside the house?
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the most fun things is when I get off the radio, I go home and, Sophie and Luna, the first thing they do, they want me to sit down and they want to come over and they put their heads on my lap. They want me to pet them. They want me to know that they're still there, and they want me to know that how much they love me. And that's part of having a dog. I mean, dogs are companions. They show love and empathy, and it's unending, and it's just hard to believe that somebody could let a dog die in those circumstances. I'm really bothered by it, but I do know that we've had both the Democrat and the Republican candidates on for sheriff, and they've both stated on these airwaves that they plan on stepping up enforcement of laws as it relates to animal cruelty in Lake County. And they both said that they would make the animal shelter a focal point of their administrations, and that's good to hear. So, both individuals talked about it, and I, do have to give credit to Roy Dominguez when he was sheriff. I know he's connected to one of the 2 candidates, and I'm not trying to sway people one way or the other. I'm just trying to give credit where credit is due. But when Roy was Lake County sheriff, he made the animal shelter a real focal point of his administration, and he actually brought in the jail population and told them that they could, basically, if they had good behavior, they could go and work with the dogs and the pets next door. And it made a difference for a lot of individuals. In fact, I met one individual one day who told me on the street that he had been incarcerated in Lake County Jail. He came up to me, he said, "Do you remember me? I used to be in Lake County Jail." And I no. And then he told me the story, and he said, look, it made a difference for him to find out that there was some love and some kindness, and he got it from a dog while he was in Lake County Jail. So there's a positive aspect and a positive dimension. So 845-1100 is the number to call. Got some texts here that I'll try and read. Kind of hard to do it sometimes, but this is a question that is being raised, which is the Whiting-Robertsdale Chamber of Commerce going to accept money from BP? I don't know. They have been an annual sponsor of Pierogi Fest. They are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but I think the Chamber, I'm not a member of I'm a member of the Chamber, but I'm not a board member. I'm not an officer. I'm not the chairman of Pierogi Fest for the first time in decades and decades. I'm not involved this year. But I think they need to make a decision and put it out there publicly very quickly. I don't think it's right to take money from BP Oil right now, given the fact that they've disenfranchised the lives of 800 employees throughout the area. And I'm sorry, but it's really hard to get money and raise money for events like Pierogi Fest, but I wouldn't take that money this year. So if I were still chairman, the check could be returned very quickly. We've got some callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you were talking about that group at, I guess it was in D.C., some white national party or something. I only read the headline, Tom.
Yes,
I'm not sure the name of the group or what their motto is or what they were doing exactly. Some days it's just headlines for me. But I do remember about a month or so back, this organization, the Southern Poverty Law Center, was, and I think there is a trial going on with them right now, that they were taking money. They are like an outfit that is against these type of groups that were in Washington doing whatever they're doing there, but they were actually funding these groups to do this.
Yeah, Southern Poverty Law Center, basically my own belief is that they should disband and go by the wayside. They keep on claiming that they're victims of the right-wingers in this country, and that they're misstating the charges against them. The fact is that the charges against them in the investigation began under the Biden administration. It was not, they were not targeted by the Trump administration. It began under the Biden administration. That's the first point. Secondly, Southern Poverty.
That should be all people everywhere against the organization if they're doing this.
Yeah, well, they took money from people like you and I, and then gave that money basically to prop up some of the very organizations that they target, so that they could basically continue their existence. And in one case, one of their leaders was actually having an affair with one of the leaders of either white supremacists or Ku Klux Klan group. I can't remember exactly.
Unbelievable.
And they, they're saying, oh, it was all part of our investigation. I mean, come on. The woman was sleeping with the enemy.
How divisive can that be, though, to people? And we should all wake up and realize that we don't hate each other. It's these groups here like this making divisiveness.
I think
that
you're right.
That was really, when I saw that, and I think they're on trial, I don't know if this group there over July 4th was a victim of them or what have you, but I'm just bringing it up because, like you say, no one trusts the media, And this is a prime example because this should have been uncovered way back, I'm guessing. Because look at the divisiveness they must have made over all the years of their existence.
Well, look, I think white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan are a bunch of comic book characters. They deserve the coverage that they got in the Blues Brothers. Remember the movie The Blues Brothers? And I mean, they're a bunch of fools. They have the Nazis that are blocking the road, and the Blues Brothers, I mean, basically run them over. They're comic book characters to me. They're people that are just fools and shouldn't be taken seriously. And most people, I think 99.99% of the nation basically discount them and think they're complete fools. But they always seem to get a lot of coverage.
But what an awful group, and to think all the money they've sucked out of people.
Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center, absolutely, because what they did was they knew that racism is going by the wayside. Most people are accepting. You've got plenty of interracial relationships and marriages and individuals who work together with people of different races and different ethnicities in this country, and the bias is going away. And it's part of the assimilation process. And Southern Poverty had to make issue, and they were losing their base.
That's how they got their money, by doing this.
Right. So they made up these stories, and they basically paid these clowns to go out and parade around. Now they've been exposed. And again, they keep on claiming, this is an attack by the Trump administration, but the investigation began under Joe Biden. It wasn't the Donald Trump administration.
That I did not know. Thank you.
It started under the Biden administration. It's absolutely a fact.
So we have to be very leery when these things present themselves, these groups and whatnot.
Well, again, look, if the Ku Klux Klan marched near you, you'd probably throw something at them and laugh at them. I mean, you don't believe in their
I wouldn't even go.
Right. I mean, you just dismiss them as a bunch of clowns and a bunch of idiots. And that's what they are. And, people, but the news media
should know this. No, I don't think it's been publicized too highly here.
Well, the news media likes to make it sound like, oh my gosh, it's a major threat. I mean, this is just ridiculous stuff. And I agree with you.
I wonder what their punishment would be for this. What would you think?
Well, again, it's I think that Southern Poverty has some real problems, and it may cease to exist by the time this suit is all done. And these charges
that would be my hope.
I think it's quite possible.
Thank you. You know more about it than I really did. I just kind of saw headlines. I really didn't,
Well, hey, it's great to talk to you this morning.
I hope they do go down.
And thanks so much. Thanks for the call. Thank you so much. 845-1100, and we've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, I just wanted to call you back. You mentioned the Whiting Chamber taking BP money, but then real quick, these NGOs like Southern Poverty.
Yes.
If these NGOs actually ever solve the problems that are instituted to take care of, the money would dry up and they would go out of business. That's why none of this stuff ever gets done.
You know what? In a heartbeat. You're right about that. And by the way, I've said this before. People, be very careful where you send your money. Okay, if you want to give money, and I encourage people to be charitable and give money to good causes, but do your due diligence. Pull up GuideStar, for example, which is now also Candid. Pull that up and see and read their 990s. Anybody can read a 990, and you can see where they're spending their money and what they're spending their money on. Mark from Hobart last week sent me a text and said he couldn't call in, but he mentioned, a couple of organizations where, a sizable amount. I talked about the dog case. The ASPCA basically is one that I wouldn't give money to right now because the majority of their money goes for administration and not for the care of dogs and pets like they show on TV. So I wouldn't give money to them. I would give money to Tunnel for Towers because they have a remarkable 95% of all their money goes to recipients. That's amazing. 5% administration costs. So you just do your math. Do your study before you give away the money. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good point. But yeah, getting back to the chamber, taking I know BP being a sponsor of Pierogi Fest. I think one of your hosts had a good idea the other day. Take the money. Yeah, take the money, but I don't know all the legalities of it, but I guess it would have to go toward the event. But
They would.
you could actually have an event, maybe a Pierogi Fest for BP employees only. You have to show proof that you're an active worker there, and have a game of chance for them where you could drop a ping pong ball into a bushel basket. You win a gift certificate to Strax. Use the money for that.
Now, you could do that.
I think that would send a big message.
You could do that. So that's an interesting point. In other words, don't let them off the hook. Take their money, but then get the money back to the people that they're hurting right now. That's a very interesting. That's a very interesting idea. If I were chairing it, I might take you up on that idea. That's a very interesting idea.
One of your hosts brought that up. I think it's a good idea too, and let's put this money to work and help these people out. If they're going to give us their money, use it.
Well,
don't give it back to them.
Well, you call regularly, and you've talked about the fact that you're a former BP Amoco employee, and let's face it, the company does not support the community like it once did, right?
I thank God I had 30 years out there and that, and I never had to go through anything like this. This is insane. I know some of the people that are still working out there and that, and I don't know how they do it after being locked out of work for 4 or 5 months. What do you do? For a company to be that predatory toward their own workforce, and then they tell you you're part of the family. Yeah, right. Yeah, like the Manson family.
And if they can do it,
to be that cold-blooded, yeah. And if
they
your own employees know it,
right? If they can do it to their own employees, just imagine what they can do to everybody else.
Well, they probably do. Look at what could happen down there in the Gulf. We go on for hours about that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Tom,
hey, thanks so much for the call.
If there's any way the chamber can work out something, I'd love to see.
No, that's a great idea. Hey, thanks so much for the call. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the morning call. Come back. We'll take a few last calls, and we'll end the day. So keep it tuned right here.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention, and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
And just a quick shout out to Calumet College, the last advertiser. Great rooftop party the other day. Unfortunately, a lot of rain came in and kind of dampened some of the fireworks, but it was a great party nonetheless. Great event. 845-1100 is the number to call. I want to bring this up because I think it was Trucker Mike who asked the question about what's going on with ABC and the renewal of their license. So this is really interesting, folks. You'll love this. Walt Disney's ABC News Network hit back at the Federal Communications Commission in a new federal filing, claiming that the regulators telling regulators that its talk show The View qualifies as a legitimate news program and shouldn't be forced to feature candidates from both sides of the political contest. In a filing made public late Tuesday, ABC argued that the commission already decided The View's classification 2 decades ago, exempting it from the rule that requires non-news programs to give equal time. And then it goes on to say that how ABC basically has defended The View as a news program. Okay, a news program. You've got 2 comedians, Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg, on there. So now we're getting our news from Whoopi Goldberg, from comedians, folks. I mean, ABC has sunk to a new low. The View is a talk show, okay? It is a talk show. It is not a news show. And they're now claiming, no, it's a news show. And therefore it's being mischaracterized by the FCC. Just unbelievable. 845-1100 is the number to call if you want to chime in on that or anything else. And we've got callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I wasn't going to call in, but I got to bring up about them dogs and household pets, our lovely household pets. You know, I always go to Region News Source, Paul Goddard.
Yep.
You know, the other night I had a car roll over right on my corner. Local newspaper, I'd have never known about it or never heard about it. I get up in the morning, I see that picture, and I had asked him, when did that happen? It was like 2 in the morning. Well, I was sleeping. But I want to bring about them dogs because, you know, there's tons of people love their pets. They're like your own family. And when I heard that, when I saw that on his Region News Source, I was so upset because, you know, that's shameful. I mean, you know, now yesterday after I got my car repaired, I was come home and I had to go to Strax, and I'm walking out of my car and I hear a dog barking, and it's got to be in a car. And I'm thinking it's a little bit warm, so I'm kind of walking around trying to see where that dog's barking at. And luckily, the person that had that dog, they were sitting in the car with their dog, had the windows up, the air going, but that dog just wanted to bark at everybody that's passing by him. And I think that person, for, you know, at least I know he had to have the air on because it was warm enough where you should have the windows down. But, you know, that's the one thing. We have to take care of our household pets. I mean, you know, when our household pet passed away, it was devastating. It's like a family, you know. But I just wanted to voice mine about that. You know, you see somebody misusing an animal, even a horse or any kind of animal, report that person, because what if that was them tied up to a swing set and can't reach water? You know, it's a shameful what happened to that dog, you know.
Absolutely.
That's about all I got to say.
Hey, thanks so much.
You know, I just want to bring
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Take care. 845-1100. I do want to bring up, I got this text from Dave, from Gary, and he says, you know, Gary is currently executing a massive initiative to demolish up to 1,300 unsafe structures across the city using $15 million from a federal READY grant and $12 million from a blight elimination program. And that's great, Dave. It's wonderful. And when it happens, we'll make sure and report it. But you just said right here, you've given the information that I keep on bringing up, which is 2026 so far, they tore down 60 structures, okay? When you've got the information that you sent, which says that there's thousands of homes and thousands of structures that need to come down. The estimates is somewhere between 13 and 18,000 structures. You need to see some big, massive response to that, and we haven't seen it yet. Yes, it's the third year of the Blight Blitz, which is it says public-private, but it's really private. It's private entities that are tearing it down, and we've had those individuals on here, and we've supported that initiative, but they've only taken down about 60 a year. There's a lot of work that has to be done. So when it starts happening, we will definitely cover it. And I've invited Mayor Melton, and I've invited Mike Suggs to come on before, and I haven't heard back from them. So anytime they want to come on and talk about demolitions, I love to hear from them. After all, one of the things I did as town manager of Cedar Lake is I took down several hundred structures, and then when Mayor McDermott became mayor of Hammond, I consulted to him on a lot of the teardowns that occurred in Hammond. I'm very proud of what East Chicago's been able to do. They've taken down about 1,500 buildings there. So, Mayor Melton's been in office now 3 years, and we're talking about less than 200. So when they really get going, we'd love to cover it. We've got callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey, Tom, it's Vinny.
Yes, good morning.
Dave's right. There's a lot of execution going on in Gary, but not of demolition. Me and Sandy were talking about this. They're executing one another in Gary.
Well, look, in defense of Gary, the murder rate is down. Okay, the murder rate is down in Gary. That's a positive. The Gary police have been doing a very good job of reducing some of the crime in Gary. It's still much higher than it should be, but you got to give them credit. They've done a decent job of controlling crime, or reducing crime, I should say, not control it, but reduce it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 845-1100 is the number to call. Again, I'm not going to sit here and just trash Gary for everything. They have had some positive moves in recent years. They brought in some additional development. Their crime rate has seemed to bottom out, and it's lower than it's been. So that's a good thing. But when you look at Gary, and my point has been for a long time, people say, well, why do you worry about Gary? Well, because when you look at Northwest Indiana, Gary has an impact on all of Northwest Indiana. I can guarantee you that when Mayor McDermott has had conversations with the Bears and everybody else, Gary has come up, and it's not been a positive. And it's not because he stole the Bears from Gary, because that was just a total fabrication that was promoted by somebody else. They never had an interest in Gary. But again, there's some positive things happening in Gary. Hard Rock Casino has done very well. There's some positive development in the area. There's some positive development in Miller. I'm not going to deny that. And again, crime is much lower than it's been in Gary. My point is that when you look at Gary and you see all the decaying, decrepit buildings that need to be demolished, that's a major problem for the city of Gary, for its future, and as a result of all of Northwest Indiana. 845-1100, we've got more callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so last caller said about, you guys talking about the Gary cops are doing a good job with the crime. Actually, to be quite honest with you, it's the Lake County Police Department are the ones really who are cleaning up the city.
Right. You got to give credit to Lake County. Lake County has been in there, and they've been supporting Gary for some time. You're right about that. Yes.
They're the ones who are making the stops. Every day I see people getting pulled over county. I hardly ever see any Gary cops pulling people over. Once in a while you see some Gary cop. Like I said, I'm in Gary every single day, pretty much 8 hours a day, and I just see county cops doing their jobs. Have a nice day.
Hey, thanks so much. And again, he's right. And look, I think it's an appropriate measure for Lake County to help out Gary. The county police basically are there to support other communities and other police departments in the area. You've heard both candidates for sheriff talk about that relationship. So I think that's a it almost goes without saying that Lake County's got to assist Gary. But once again, when you look at the blight in Gary, you look at all of the decrepit buildings, all the abandoned buildings, they need to come down. And the sooner the better. So if Dave from Gary is right that Mayor Melton is moving on with a plan to take down 1,600 homes, it's great. How soon will those 1,600 homes come down? All right. So there's there needs to be some real actions. If you live in Hobart, if you live in Munster, if you live in Highland, you live in Cherville, you live in Hammond, you live in East Chicago, you live in Whiting, I can name just about every community in Lake County. They've all at times had to deal with some dilapidated structures, okay? They have unsafe building laws, they enforce them, and they've made those buildings go away. Look at Hammond. When the mayor was on, I think he said, the number's somewhere around 3,000 demolitions now in Hammond. That's a lot of demolitions. And yes, you can say, well, the mayor, he's been mayor for 20-some years. Yes, he has, but most of those demolitions occurred in his first or second term. I can tell you that because I was there firsthand. He was tearing down buildings so fast that it was like, the numbers, I'd see the numbers and they'd say, well, we're at 500 and then we're at 700. It's like, wait, what happened to 600? No, he blew by that. They were tearing homes down at record pace. Same in East Chicago. So communities have focused on demolitions. Gary is not. Gary says has a plan, and I want to believe in that. I want to see the results. But there's a lot of work to be done, and it's got to happen. And as it happens, it's going to make Gary ripe for development, and it's going to attract more investment in not just Gary, but in surrounding communities. And until that happens, it is, it is a bit of an anchor on Northwest Indiana, because as I said before, when I've negotiated economic development agreements, I've had people on the other side of the table say to me, what about Gary? And I'll say, but I'm not talking about Gary. I'm not representing Gary. And they're like, yeah, well, you can't hide it, though. It exists. People see it. People see it from the toll road. They see it from 8094. And basically, those are customers that would be coming through that area or leaving through that area. And we want to know what's being done about Gary. So Gary is important to Northwest Indiana. And I hope and pray that improvements are on the way. I just haven't seen the kind of game plan, the kind of attack that I would have thought would be so important to the city of Gary. The fact that they're coming out with 1,600, going to tear down 1,600 structures, it doesn't say when and it doesn't say how soon. And those are the numbers that I continue to look for, because they haven't taken down very many yet. 60 structures a year by volunteers is a small drop in the bucket compared to somewhere between 18 and 20,000 buildings that have to come down. Dave called me off the air and said, well, you don't understand, some of these buildings are multi-story buildings and they're multi-unit. Yes, I do, because Hammond had the same problem. East Chicago had the same problem, and they tore down those multi-unit structures, those large structures. So it has happened in those communities, and it can happen, and I hope it does happen in Gary. But let's not fool ourselves either. Just because it hasn't happened and people say there are plans, well, we've heard lots of plans. We've heard plans for years out of Gary that we were going to tear down buildings. Karen Freeman Wilson was a personal friend of mine. Karen even had an academy where she was going to train people on how to demolish homes. There have been a lot of efforts, but the results of those efforts are what's lacking. And until those homes come down in Gary, until large areas get cleaned out and people see the demolitions, they're going to be somewhat hesitant to invest, not only in Gary, but in all of Northwest Indiana, and that's bad for all of us. So if you live in Griffith, if you live in Munster and you say it doesn't matter to me, it does matter, because it makes a difference on the whole area. We've got 22, 25 communities in Northwest Indiana and it's great. And we want that individual identity, and we like the fact that Whiting is its own city and Hammond is its own city, and that's great, folks. There's a lot of cooperation, though, between those communities, and when it comes to economic development, we kind of sink or swim together, and that's my point. So, again, Dave, I hope what you sent me is true. I just like to see the schedule of when this actually begins, because I've heard for some time they were going to tear down 1,600 homes, all right? We're talking about a completion of 3 years now as mayor, and Eddie Milton, God bless him, he keeps on saying, I'm going to take down 1,600 buildings, but when will that start, okay? Is it going to start this year, next year? When is it going to start? That's what I want to hear, and I've not been able to get those answers out of the city of Gary, and it's unfortunate. Hey, with that, looks like we are basically rapidly ending our day here on WJOB. It's been great to be here with you this morning. It's great to be here with you every week. This is a one-shot week. I don't think I do a twofer until 2 weeks from now, just before Pierogi Fest, but I enjoy doing the radio. There's no doubt about it. I really appreciate all the callers and all the listeners, and I just want to say I hope you all have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Make sure you take care of your pets. And you know what? If you see a pet in the neighborhood, just like if you saw a child, if you see a pet that's not being taken care of, you need to call the police. Police officers are wonderful, especially when it comes to pets. I think police officers are probably better pet owners than the rest of the population out there. And that's a shout out to Mark Tharp if he's listening, because he's very proud of his beagle and his dog. And he's just an example. He's a police officer I've known for many years. Very proud of his dog. Police officers take great care in animals. So if you see an animal that's not being cared for, please call before something happens like what happened on the 5500 block of Jackson Street in Maryville. With that, keep it tuned all day, all week right here to WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and we'll see you next Wednesday morning beginning at 6 a.m. Take care.
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once